Arnhorst.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 14th of January 2018. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
We're back.
And Robert Kemp.
Bonus ducks.
Okay.
Bonus ducks?
Yeah, bonus ducks.
It's been in my head since you reminded me of it the other day, Zach.
Yep.
Bonus ducks.
What, like on top of the ducks you already have?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Bonus
that
ducks.
That was indeed.
Was the I can't actually remember it. I just remember that sample, but it was like a Team Fortress Halloween thing
Yeah.
back in the day. Bonus ducks.
The best thing about that sample is there was like the different versions of it, which had different, like weirdly different intonations. There's one that's
Bonus ducks.
There's one it's like bonus ducks, bonus ducks, bonus ducks.
It was like the old overtime bug.
Yeah, basically, that's what you wanted.
Oh, I used to love that. That was one of my favourite bugs of all time. Just overtime. Well, I can't even say it.
No,
I'm overtime.
overtime.
Overtime. Double kill.
Yes, because the only reason I remembered that was because at some point I used that weird GFCE extractor program to to open up the files of Team Fortress 2 and extract the actual samples. So I have a variety of scout noises available at any time.
Boink!
Swoosh.
What do you use these for?
Nothing. They're just available.
They're just available.
Goes in my
Have you got
sound
any,
effects
like...
folder.
Yeah,
do
you have a
actually
sound
have-
effects folder.
I think I do actually use the swoosh for like a message send noise sometimes on my phone.
Have you got anything customized on your phone, Zeg, for sounds? I don't think I have anything anymore.
I only have ringtone. That's it. That was as much as I could be bothered with.
I haven't even done ringtone. What's your ringtone?
And text message, I guess. I suppose that counts. I just brought over the old ones.
Zach still has the on my phone. He has the Watch It Bodala sheet.
I'd forgotten about that for quite a long time until I was looking in my Flash folder, and I was like, "Oh, I actually have that."
Oh right.
So I can enjoy Watch It Bone on a sheet.
Was it the what did they call it? The Mario Dirty Mix or something?
Yes, whatever that was.
Dun dun dun.
I think the best ever Windows sound I ever heard that we set was your one, Rob, the old days with the Destiny's Child.
Oh, what
thing.
for when the
For whenever there was a prompt
a
in
question
Windows
prompt.
that was like
Yeah.
you had to provide an answer. Yeah.
question?
Just cut out that question bit of that song.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's called the Super Mario Bros. Dirty Mix from OC Remix.
Yes, naturally. Even back then.
Oh man. Is this OC Remix then?
Yeah, apparently.
How old is OC Remix then?
Very old.
Yeah,
Oh really? Oh wow.
epic. It's been going. There's a very long time now.
Ah, you're part of a storied history with your.
With my now soon to be 4 tracks.
Wow.
Oh.
It's 2 tracks, but I got 2. I now have 2 tracks that have been approved for the Skies of Arcadia project.
Oh really?
One of which made the teaser trailer.
Wow.
Hell yeah!
Wow. Check it out, guys. We need to link it. Maybe.
I forget what the project name is called though, but so that's not going to help.
Right.
Man, I can't
Yeah, I
really
just
remember
like,
any
the
music
only-
from Skies of Arcadia. Or maybe the battle music.
Yeah, exactly.
The one that
The
plays
big-
over and over again.
Yeah, the one that you hear constantly, endlessly.
So I think that's the only reason I made the trailers because I did the victory music.
Mm.
So that's kind of a one you'll hear a lot.
Not that that's
and-
much of a music, really.
No,
You
it's,
didn't have
it's
much
like
to
a,
work
it's like
off.
a, it's like a, yeah, it's like a 20-second loop. But then there's 2 of them, so there's a bit of bombardment victory music, which is different
Oh, right, yeah.
for like the ship battles.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what weird sound effects I had set on Windows at some point. I think the only one I remember was when I had on my MSN, whenever a message got sent, it just goes, "What?" I don't remember what that sound effect was from exactly.
That's great.
What?
I mean, I got some. Oh, right, yeah, I've got some like video gamey sounds on here. I use things like my text message noises, of course.
Yeah. Yep. You hear that in several of our videos if you're paying close attention.
And I think I've used this, or one of these, I'm assuming it's this one, for when a calendar alarm comes up.
Okay.
More Sonic-y stuff.
Sonic stuff.
Yeah.
Always.
That was a lot louder.
Yeah, it was a lot louder. Oh, of course. I don't know what I've used it for, but I've put it on here just in case.
Another classic. I'm pretty sure I used that for something in there.
Is that from the dramatic reading thing?
Yeah,
it absolutely is that. Yeah. The
He literally read out the door. Lol.
The emails were dramatic reading.
Wow, old memes.
It's only 2006.
Stop.
Like middle age memes.
Yeah, only 11 years ago.
Oh, there we go. There's poing. I had that as an email noise for a while.
Poing! Yep, poing.
I've come across people that use the Metal Gear spotted sound for
that's a
text
classic.
message.
Oh, that's pretty much anything.
That's pretty great.
Which is terrifying. Yeah, exactly.
I can get behind that.
It makes you constantly on edge, basically.
At one point, during the very brief window that I was in Second Life, I made a Metal Gear Solid alert where it just created a pixelated exclamation mark above your head and used that sound effect.
Nice.
Just so you could trigger it whenever you wanted.
Nice. You should have sold it.
I tried to, but I did. Then I was like, fuck this shit, and then I got out.
And also, actually...
and probably...
Konami probably was in Second Life at one point.
Well, and probably about a million other people had already done that.
Yeah, probably.
Because it's a real obvious idea.
You probably got shut down. Is Second Life still a thing? Is it up?
Well, as much of a thing as
Probably.
it always has been, I guess.
That must have evolved in some way.
It has, but not to make it necessarily better, I guess.
No. But maybe...
They got better modelling tools, I suppose.
Probably got
Things look slightly less made of polygons than everything used to.
I bet the only significant advancement has been in their porn dungeons.
Well, I mean, that's what drives the advancement. People want better looking porn, and therefore you get better looking textures and polygons. That's pretty much how that works. It's the same with VR, really. It's all driven by porn.
Absolutely. Oh well, that was the like the early bets, wasn't it, on the HD DVD versus Blu-ray battle?
Which one has the more form?
Well, and the early winner was HD DVD on that front. It was like HD porn apparently embraced HD DVD because it was a more open format, as in it was easier to make.
It wasn't Sony, and they were going to shut them down.
Absolutely.
I still don't understand what's going on with Blu-ray. You can get 4K Blu-rays, right? Explain it to me.
That's a thing.
So why was there ever a worry about that? Like, you can get a full film in 4K on a Blu-ray disc.
It's a different disc.
Yeah, it's
you need a
double layered, or
yeah.
quad layered, or
So
something.
you need a special player, do you?
You do need a 4K
What's
drive
it called?
to deal with it.
Blu-ray
Just
4K or something.
Ultra Blu-ray. I think.
Ultra Blu-ray.
Something like that. Oh, it might just 4K Blu-ray, something like that.
Yeah.
Because they sometimes call 4K Ultra 4K, don't they? For some stupid reason.
And if you have a PS4, can it play that or not?
No, there is no PlayStation 4 available that can do 4K Blu-ray. Not even the PS4 Pro. However, Xbox S and Xbox
One
X can do it.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
Given it's a Sony format. Okay.
Mighty strange, but I guess Sony really wanted
but your
to save
Xbox
that
One
$100.
can't do it.
My Xbox can't do it. No, the original Xbone.
I was going to call it the OG Xbox Xbone. It's getting really confused.
Xbone.
OG Xbone. It's not the OG Xbox. It's the OG Xbone now.
The suffixless, let's call it.
I saw a headline of a news story, but then didn't actually read the news story to find out what it was actually about. But it said the Duke is coming back.
Some peripheral manufacturer is like making the Duke, and it's got like tiny little bumpers just for compatibility, but they don't really fit on the design. So,
right? Yeah. Are they black and white buttons then to make? Bumpers
I think
work?
that's the same. The main difference is, well, they've taken out the memory card slots, obviously, and the entire
It'd be really
huge
funny if it
round
was,
logo is a screen, complete with
What?
like a stupid animation of the logo. Yeah,
What?
yeah. Apparently,
Someone put a
apparently the
VMU
guy
in my-
when they originally designed it, that's what they would have wanted to do. Of course,
Huh.
Because it wasn't a necessarily large, giant, pointless thing on the Duke.
it was huge.
The Duke was kind of an unnecessarily large, pointless thing.
Well, yes, but that specific logo circle was just like, it wasn't even like the logo took up that entire space. It was like even the logo was
No.
small within that
Yeah,
circle.
that's true.
Yeah.
So that has like the Xbox logo animation apparently on the new one.
Did the S controllers still have the memory card slots?
I think they did.
I really can't remember. Yeah.
No.
I think they did. I don't even remember. I never had a memory card.
No, I don't know anyone who had a memory card.
You didn't need it because you just had the hard disk. I guess it was
Well,
for transferring.
It was for transferring saves. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
you had two
not
slots on the
every-
controller for some reason, right? It wasn't just
And
one.
also, I think the management on the console didn't let you transfer all
Right.
saves to the memory card in the same way that they had that restriction on 360 at one point until they introduced, the ability to plug your own sticks into it, and they opened it up a little bit, but still not completely.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. The Duke was like weirdly good for Halo, and that's all that mattered.
Not a lot else.
When the Xbox came out, that's all anyone was playing. So I mean,
it was quite comfortable for that.
Yeah, it was fine. But for any kind of I don't know what, there were lots of problems with it. But the buttons were, why did they make them that weird like egg shape?
But they still,
like, rounded up buttons.
they were a little too rounded.
Yeah, they were
I
weird.
mean, they still are fairly rounded,
Mm.
but just not eggy.
Yeah.
They're more sphery. Or, just a bit more buttony, I suppose.
Mm.
But
Anyway.
they are still a little curved outwards. But then most controllers are like that still, sort of curved outwards. Not that Mega Drive controller though. They've got concave button tops,
It's weird.
dimpled. But then they're massive, and there's only 3 of them.
Well, that's why they're dimpled, I guess, because they're big enough that the dimple is actually like finger sized rather than
I guess.
being like a weird feeling nodule.
True. You don't need your buttons to be nodular.
No.
Speaking of controllers, I suppose I haven't talked about. I picked up a Pro controller over the break. Damn, that thing's good.
Yeah, it's a good controller, man.
Oh, it's so comfortable.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
If only Nintendo would, put their button layout the right way round. Like swap the A
X,
and
Y
B
thing.
around. And, just get it right.
The only thing missing from that as a universal controller is like analog triggers.
Analog triggers, yeah.
But I guess
Which, in fairness, the majority of games don't actually use.
No, it's just
So
you
they're
can't
not
use
really
it for-
missing anything.
Not really. It's like driving games, but you've
Yeah.
got a wheel. Then.
And Ninty don't really. I can't remember the last
No.
proper driving game on a Ninty platform.
I do occasionally find in Splatoon that I don't realise whether I'm holding down the trigger or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll
But
keep
you're only
firing.
using Joy-Cons, right?
Sure, but it's still the same button triggers.
Hmm.
It's just you don't have that much trouble. You don't notice sometimes if you're continuing to hold it down. You haven't let off that tiny amount of pressure between clicking and not clicking.
I remember I have not used my grip since getting the Pro controller.
Not
There's
that
nothing
nice.
has sat in it. There's been no point.
Yeah, I don't use that thing.
It's a hell of a thing. It's weird because it is in many ways just an X-Bone controller.
Yeah, it's almost the same.
almost the exact same shape, but it's weirdly more comfortable, and I don't really know why.
Only slightly. It's got an Ninty D-pad, which is good. Not that I use it, but it's got a proper D-pad and proper size buttons. Yeah.
And it's yet to break, so that's something.
It's not going to break.
Like a month.
I've used it for ages.
I know, but two of the 3 X-Bone controllers I have are now dubious.
Really? Jeez.
Yeah, a clip in the left stick breaks and or snaps off, and my best efforts to repair it have lasted all of about 10 minutes before it's broken again.
Oh man, they wouldn't. I mean, they tried to improve on the 360 pad, but they couldn't quite manage it. I don't think.
I'm not sure I've heard of. Admittedly, all of my controllers are like the first revision. There is a second revision, or maybe even a third now.
Okay.
Like there are newer revisions of the X-Bone controller, so maybe I'm hoping they've fixed it in that. And I would assume the Elite is slightly better made.
You bloody hope so for that price.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a critical flaw, and I'm expecting. I've got one left that I can trust, and I'm not holding my breath anymore. I reckon that might die.
But yeah, modern controllers are expensive, but I would recommend. The Pro controller if you ever. Switch.
I mean, yeah, that Pro controller is the most expensive of the standard.
Is it more than a DualShock, whatever?
Yeah, it's more expensive than a PS4. It's more expensive than a
wow.
Bone. It has got. Don't forget, it has got them. At least over the X-Bone, the one thing it has is the motion tracking, which X-Bone obviously doesn't have. But
yeah,
PS4
it does have that. Yeah, and HD Rumble,
which is an
NFC spot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and an NFC spot.
HD Rumble just means they put a smaller motor in it. Really.
That's not what it actually means. If you actually take it apart and look at the HD Rumble thing, it's slightly more complicated than just a set of motors.
I thought those haptic things were basically just like a Diddy.
I mean, they are at some point some kind of motor, but it's not just like more of them, or like you can't just like shove two of the ones that you already had in there and have that be the same.
Okay.
They're like contained in a little box and stuff.
Because I think I would still like there to be, at least in the Pro controller, like a big rumble motor. Because who doesn't like a big rumble, like the heavy rumble that the normal controllers.
It still manages some fair rumble out of those small HD motors when they all go off at the same time.
Yeah, can't say I've really experienced that.
Reason a rumble.
Rumbleable.
I think the main problem with the HD Rumble motors, or whatever is in there, I guess it's still motors, but because they're so small, it makes them high pitched.
Oh yeah.
So you notice the sound of them more.
There's a fun thing you can do with my phone where you can make it have rumble tones. So you can change how it vibrates when something rings, but it could you can make it rumble in a sort of arpeggio. So it'll be lying on a table going bo 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 bo.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
In Rumble. At the moment, I just have it set on a somewhat extreme. So it's like... Because I don't know, I think I'm immune to feeling Rumble in my pocket these days.
Yeah.
I've got it set to the strongest setting and I just don't notice it.
And then you notice it when it hasn't happened at all, right?
Yeah. I definitely have Phantom Rumble.
Everyone's got Phantom Rumble.
Stop putting it in the other pocket and see if that helps. Because if you always have it in one pocket, maybe putting it on the other leg would not let you feel it again.
That is true. The funniest thing is I did put it in the other pocket for a while, and it felt weird. Admittedly, well, yeah. It's like this is a weight I wasn't expecting to have there, and I still felt the Phantom Rumble in the other side. And it's like, damn it! I've got too accustomed to there being something going boom every few minutes,
or invent some other mechanism to connect it to your body somewhere else.
So get to my brain. Just make my entire head vibrate. The risk of attaching it to certain places with electrical impulses might mean it creates, adverse effects.
I don't think there's much electricity coming out of your phone, to be honest.
That would be terrifying if your whole head vibrated every time you got a text
message. No, I've wired this wrong. I've accidentally loosened my sphincter whenever I get a text. No.
That'd be dangerous as hell.
It's attached to your eyelid, so it's just a weird one. Like
you're trying to think of the weirdest body parts.
Yeah, the twitchy feeling you get in your eyes when you're overtired. That I get all the time, and it's just like just bring it to that, so your eyes are going sort of opening and closing. Open the phone!
It's like, oh shit, someone's trying to get hold of me.
I can't see it.
If you're knowing you're driving along, turn your hand, hands free.
Okay, Google, answer the phone.
Oh man, okay, Google. My brother brought one of those mini Google Homes. When we were at home for Christmas, and my mum's anyway. and trying to encourage my mum to get one. But it worked pretty well. I have to admit.
I don't know. I think I'm permanently still finding questions that I want to ask assistants and them come up with not an answer. Sometimes not even that complex a question. Like, I was trying to teach my dad how to use his new tablet, and that's got Alexa on it.
Oh, really?
And so we were trying to see if we could ask it when to get like horse racing results or things like that, and it was just like no.
Cannot understand your question.
Yeah. And so some of that stuff you thought would be relatively simple. Like Google sometimes has a better job of that because of the way they list anything that has one of those little cards in Google. If you do a Google search and you get the little card
the graph
is usually pretty good for asking assistant. But those things are somewhat limited.
I don't see how Alexa is slightly ahead apparently, or they're ahead, Amazon. But surely Google's got to win in the long run because they have the data.
So it's up and down. Alexa is ahead if you want smart home stuff.
Yeah. Google
is still better if you actually want search.
Yeah, definitely.
And you want to ask it random questions.
But
surely,
if you want
to turn your lights to 40%, then Alexa's your thing.
But you can do that with the Google one. I mean, my brother does it.
You can, but it's just supported by more third parties.
Oh, I see.
It's the thing. It's winning that race.
Because Stephen's really into. He's got the Philips Hue stuff, and he got me that for Christmas. Well, him and my mum. So I've got I've got the Philips Hue bridge, and I've got one light bulb and a strip, which I've put behind my monitor in the classic old bias lighting style. I haven't had that for a while. So now I have half smart lights, but I don't have the Google Home, so I can't control it with my voice like he does. But he uses a lot of if this, then that, integrations to
sure, yeah,
to convert things into other things. But he's really into it, and I'm not that bold.
I do think it's fascinating, but the more I've thought about it, like I think we've had this conversation on the cast before, but like the more I think about it and think that's cool, but what would I actually use it for?
Yeah,
like, how often am I really changing the lights in my room? Unless I'm going to get really into the mood lighting and go, what this podcast needs is a bit more green.
Yeah, I know. Like I
need to get in a green mood for
both these lights have full color capabilities, and so far I'm only using them in different levels or different. Well, no, I mean I'm using them different. What would you call it? Color temperatures, but I'm basically just using white light, right? Or light bulb light, but I can adjust it to more warm, yellowy, I suppose.
Can I have sunlight? Or can I have...
Exactly. So I'm doing that, but I'm not doing a green. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least not currently. I set up a red alert mode, but I haven't used it. But that would be ideally you'd use Alexa, right? Because they have for some reason the rights, or not rights, but they're the only ones that seem to allow you to say the word computer. So they're the only ones that you could say to Alexa, computer red alert, and have it play the stupid sound from Star Trek and have everything go red. Because that's what you want.
That does still bother me that none of the assistants apart from Alexa have the ability to change the name that you used to call out.
I know why it is, but it seems like it'd be such a killer feature if you could name it whatever you wanted.
Yeah, and just think about the multi-user stuff, right? Because all of these are kind of crappy for locations where you've got several people, right? Because I don't necessarily want known if I had an Alexa to go Alexa, add this to my shopping list. But it adds it to mine because I'm the account associated with the Alexa, right?
But isn't there one of them can tell who you are from?
They're getting there,
right?
But it's not great.
Right, yeah.
But just using a different opening word would be the easiest solution.
That's true.
Anyway. I call mine Jim. It's like Jim. Sort out my shopping, mate.
Bob.
And then no one comes in and goes, Gustav, what's going on? In
Gustav. Yeah.
Well, Jeeves, give it a butler name.
Yeah.
Albert, ready the Batmobile. And then it, my smart car is for some reason the engine turns on. I don't know. Give me a live feed from my dash cam. Jeeves.
Oh, man. What's the guy's name in Batman?
Albert.
Is it Albert? I've actually forgotten.
Alfred. Sorry.
Alfred. There we go. Alfred.
Not Albert.
And in And so I only recently learned this weekend that Iron Man's butler was called Jarvis, and that's why the computer's called Jarvis in Iron Man. But originally he was just a butler, which makes sense.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Jarvis. Anyway, smart stuff.
Yeah, because even with a thermostat thing, I'm not like, I don't care about the heat, or like I can put up with the cold. So it's like I don't need to turn the thermostat off so the house is warm when I get home. It's like I'll be in my house, I'll be warm enough.
Thing is that this stuff will people like Stephen will like pioneer this stuff, or whatever. They'll be early adopters, and then one day, like eventually, everyone will just have it, and it'll just be normal. I
guess, yeah. Well, it's like smart electricity stuff that's being forced upon us, isn't it? The whole smart meter thing.
I mean, that's good.
And I don't even know if any of that actually even links to any of this.
Probably not. I don't know.
Because I think they got ahead of it before this became a thing. And so most of them probably don't. And it's like, wow, that would be useful like if I just want to shout at it to be like, hey, what's my electricity bill this month? But how often do I do that?
Once a month, apparently.
Or not at all in my case, because I just wait for that letter to come through the post from your supplier that says, hey, we're changing your direct debit.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Or email, sure, whatever.
I know this is like totally a different subject and probably old technology or whatever old thing, but I really like the Chromecast, and I just discovered that if I get my phone out and I go to YouTube and stream and press the connect to Chromecast button, it will actually turn on the TV if it's off.
Oh, that's cool.
Through the HDMI or whatever. So and I'm like, that's pretty smart.
Even though my amp apparently has that stuff built in, it doesn't work. Doesn't turn the amp on, and the amp can't. I think my TV is a bit too old to be turned on
to do
by
that.
signals.
Yeah.
And I've heard there are some devices like the Switch and stuff that can really screw with that stuff.
Oh, really?
Like, I know we always reference Jeff Gerstmann on the Bombcast, but he apparently had a problem with his LGs, and that when he docked or undocked the Switch, it would try and turn things on and off randomly, and it's like, no, don't do that.
Jeff Gerstmann is still a threat.
He is. Just don't cross him. Unlike China, he care. There we go. Get the references out there. They were done with that.
I don't know if he cares that
much. No. I forgot about China don't care. Anyway. What's going on, guys? Any house grouse?
I think I have really. I mean, we changed the curtains in here. It's not really grouse. We had a.
It's not grouse yet, anyway.
No,
you haven't experienced them long enough to determine whether grouse needs to happen.
Yeah, whether the cat will take to destroying them. We haven't got that far. I mean, she did leave the biggest dump I've ever seen this cat produce on the doormat yesterday morning, which was nice.
I wondered why your doormat was different when I came in.
Yeah, no. Well, basically, when the cat decides to soil a doormat, Gnome doesn't take the approach of we can clean this, right? She's just like, nope, this is done.
Well, I mean, it's probably good anyway. Get rid of old doormats.
I mean, that wasn't that old, that one.
Yeah, but how old was it really?
Like a year or two, because she did this last time. The cat took a massive dump on the doormat. Yeah, and she sat on me right now. She couldn't give a monkeys. She just sat there going, yeah, I know, I did that. Quite proud. Look at that proud face. Smug cat. Yeah. Smug number. Yeah, and we had something, the curtains came out of, we just had one of these weird conversations during Crimbo Limbo where it was just no one was getting really bored with all the time off. And it's I was fine, I was playing games.
Yeah.
Well, they're attempting to catch up on
of course.
Stuff I'd meant to do a long time ago. And it's just in the middle of the day, just should we go to IKEA?
Classic.
Just did. Ended
Were
up
there lots of people there?
My office. It wasn't too bad.
Oh, cool.
Too bad. I mean, IKEA's always busy.
Which one do you go to? Blue Water?
Yeah, you have to go to
Thurrock.
Lakeside, or whatever it's called.
I quite
where
like
the darts are.
Did you have meatballs?
We did have. Well, no, actually, we didn't have meatballs there. We brought them back.
Oh, you brought them back.
We got a stash of meatballs and sauce and Rosties and ate them all in a week.
Sweet. I had fish and chips last time I was at IKEA. That's quite nice.
Love IKEA.
Yeah. I could
Always
actually
buy
get the
the
bus
cheap
and go and have lunch at IKEA and then come back on a normal day. Well, actually, it's a bit too far to do that, but
It's a little far, yeah.
it's possible. It's only in Tottenham, so it's not that far from me. The problem for me is getting stuff back. I don't have a car, so. Last time,
Well, you can like the weird thing they do is like seems to be you can go to the showroom, have a wander around, pick everything out from the self-service warehouse, and then once you've paid for it, they have an extra counter there behind the checkout if you realise you can't get it in your car.
Yeah,
and they'll just deliver it.
So when you realise, but then they charge you like 35 quid for delivery or something.
Yeah, basically.
And then you're not in, are you? Because you're at work.
Absolutely.
So standard. Well, maybe you are, but
well, I'm at home most of the time.
Exactly. But yeah, so we managed to get a ridiculous Uber XL, and it actually worked. I couldn't believe it. Driven by some insane Turkish guy who was like all over the roads, but it actually worked.
I guess that's my main fear of Uber confirmed then.
Oh, Uber is weird. Yeah, I mean it's fine. Obviously, it's fine. Like, but sure. it's pretty weird.
Did you hear that thing about Uber recently, where supposedly the police raided one of their buildings or something, but they knew it was coming? They got tipped off or something, so basically managed to secure all their data so they couldn't access it.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even know they had any buildings. I guess they have an office. Maybe
they have to somewhere, I suppose. I don't know if that was UK or US or what. I just remember hearing, seeing a news post about it.
Yeah.
Like, Uber survives a raid.
Uber is very weird, but it is absolutely amazing. I mean, I don't use it myself much, but when I've used it with friends and stuff, it's so fast and so cheap and so easy to use. It's ridiculous.
Mm. Yeah, I think some of my Cambridge crew use it because it's there. I think it's
Is it there in Cambridge?
I think so. Or maybe they have an equivalent. I don't know. There was something. They were tracking the driver or something. Maybe it's just one of their taxi firms got high tech.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
No idea.
IKEA.
Yes.
How's the kettle holding up, Zeg?
It's still fine, and the mod is surviving. I was worried about that rubber glove because I was like, you're putting it directly against the thing that boils water. Is it not just going to melt? Apparently not. Rubber gloves can withstand more than 100 degrees, which I guess sort of makes sense. Not that you typically dip your hands directly into 100-degree water, but pretty hot water when you're doing washing up, if you're doing it well enough. My bedroom smelled of pine for like the whole week because I got a new bed frame.
Ooh.
Only the frame so far. The mattress comes like next week, helpfully. So it's just the old mattress stuffed on top of the new frame where it doesn't actually really fit because the frame is longer than than the old mattress, helpfully.
Oh, that would be good though with the new mattress if it's longer bed. Right?
Yeah, assuming that mattress is as long as it's meant to be, yes. And this bed frame just is weirdly long.
So will you have less space in your room because you've got a bigger bed?
Marginally, but slightly. It's like because it's just a frame, not like the box thing.
Right.
I can actually fit more boxes under it than I had drawers under the full frame last time.
Oh, right.
So theoretically, you can store more stuff.
They'll actually fit properly as well. Because you had your boxes overhung the actual.
Well, that's what it was broken.
Oh, right.
That was why I got a new bed. But yeah, it smelled of pine really strongly, especially for the first couple of days. Like almost headachy kind of strength pine smell. I was like, Jesus Christ. And then, of course, once you sit in the room for a while, you get used to it. And then if you leave to like make a cup of tea and then come back, it's like, no, it still really smells of pine in here.
Nice.
Epic pine.
And also, it's like, I mean, it's a very, like, you know, basic bed frame just made of bits of wood. That's why it smells of pine. But it's you know, screw assembled, so you're never going to be able to get that out of there without destroying it.
Right.
It's in there permanently now. Because you wouldn't even be able to like disassemble it because they're literal screws going into wood. So if you take those out, they're never going to be as good the second time.
Yeah, Fred's not going to hold up, is it?
So yeah, that's just there until it breaks, I suppose. Or for some reason have to get a completely new bed again. Who knows what's going to happen with this mattress, though? That's the bit that's actually bad about getting new beds, where it's like you have to experience a new mattress and you don't know whether it's going to be satisfactory until you've slept on it for like a week.
No, we've been putting off getting a mattress for ages because it turns out we have expensive taste in mattresses.
Yeah, you got to get one of those fancy ones that everyone is. There's like cutthroat competition in the ridiculous,
a lady's
like,
name
mail
e-mattress.
Yeah, there's like 3 different ones. We already talked about this, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm not even sure we like those because foam. Like we sat on a few foam mattresses at IKEA, and admittedly they would be IKEA foam mattresses, not a Lisa or an Eve or a Jemima. I don't know what they call
whatever the other one is.
Yeah, I mean there's loads.
Casper, right?
Casper's the blue one, I think. Yeah, and. So we're not sure we'd actually like them, but you can't try those. You have to actually get them in your house, and there's so much money.
You can send them back though, right? That's the.
I know, in theory,
it's a pain in the arse though.
But then they'll be like, "But you've got your body sweat in this foam." That's the other thing Gnome's worried about. It's like, are they just going to absorb everything that I am? And it's like, all mattresses. Yeah,
that's why you have an undersheet.
Your
the whole
life
point
essence.
Of putting bedclothes in there to create a bit of a barrier.
Yeah, I use a topper, mattress topper.
I definitely use a topper.
Yeah. But I would like to. I think my mattress has started squeaking. I might have to, which is very annoying. I think it must be the mattress and not the bed. Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's the bed. I don't know.
You've got like one bad spring or something.
Maybe. How do I test which ones it is?
You take the mattress off the bed.
Yeah.
Just roll around on the floor a bit.
Not on the floor, you mean on the bed, on the bed frame. Not just take the mattress off and just lie on the floor for a while.
Well, no, but if you put the mattress on the floor and then roll on the mattress on the floor.
Right.
The bed frame.
I'm not talking about 2 separate activities where you just... Right, first of all, here's how you make a cup of tea. First of all, you put the kettle on.
Then you lie on the floor.
Then you go roll around on the floor.
Okay.
That could be a theoretical thing you could do during the time when the kettle's boiling.
And then you turn the kettle off again because you forgot to put the water in.
Yeah.
And then you put the water in. And then you roll around on the floor a bit. And then you remember to turn the kettle on.
Because it's the same bed as yours, because you got yours off me, the Malm.
Yeah.
You know, it has those, obviously it has the like wooden strips underneath, whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
I could easily replace those, right? Because I just get one of those from IKEA and it'll be the same. So if that's the thing that's squeaking, I don't have a problem. But I don't know how to figure out if it's that.
And I'm not quite sure how that would squeak.
No, exactly. It looks fine. Like if I lift the mattress up, everything looks fine under there. It's not like any of them are broken or anything.
And also that would be pretty difficult to sort of test because they're sort of mobile, those slats, aren't they?
Exactly. Yeah, the slats, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm guessing it's the mattress on that basis. But
I mean, it could still be like wood on wood squeaking on like the joints.
Yeah, I know, but it never used to. So
just tighten it. Get an Allen key and tighten it.
What you mean the actual physical? No, it's definitely coming from the inside of the bed, not the frame.
I know, but it could still be like wood on wood. Like it can. It's a thing. It can happen. Wood on wood can squeak.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just tighten everything.
Oh, who knows?
Step 1, tighten everything. Or step 1, take the mattress off the bed.
Then lie on the floor.
And then roll around on the floor. Okay.
And then roll around on the mattress to see if you can feel a difference.
Anyway.
I did briefly have my mattress on the floor when the old bed had to be got rid of, but before the new bed frame turned up. Which, mattress on the floor is almost indistinguishable from mattress on a bed frame. It's just a solid thing that you're putting a mattress on.
Also, we'd pretty much have to get our mattress from IKEA because your old bed is Euro size.
Oh, really?
It's a Euro double. Because we've got a regular ass double mattress that doesn't fit it properly.
What's the difference?
And I think they're a bit longer, Euro beds. Like for taller people.
Which Rob is not.
No, it doesn't bother me either way. But no. Neither of us are particularly lanky. No. We could do with having a foot cut off the end of the bed.
Get some more space in your bedroom, get an even smaller bed. Turn it around sideways and sleep on it lengthways.
The problem is if we got like a California King or something, it would basically just fill the entire width of the room. Yeah. The room would just be bed.
That'd be a great bedroom if you just had a fitted bed where instead of carpet it was just one huge mattress. You just sleep anywhere you want. Just lie down on the floor, literally.
That's not a super terrible idea in many ways. Just like my entire room is mattress.
It'd be impossible to like
actually
put
get
bed
around.
sheets on it.
Yeah. Or if you had a partner and you tried to actually get up and walk out, like you'd just be like springing it everywhere.
Yeah, you would be able to sneak around that bed.
Boing. It's beginning to sound like a sex dungeon.
Yep.
Yeah, let's move on.
Sex cauldron. I thought they shut that place down. So, what do you think of Star Wars?
Can't talk about it.
I won't say anything other than...
Zach, we'll never be able to talk about it because you're never going to go now.
Well, I still don't know. I don't actually know whether Mum's seen it yet, and that'll be.
Well, I might go again. I'd go again. It's fine because it doesn't cost me anything.
Well, no, that's true.
Oh
So
yeah.
Rob doesn't care. Or I could wait a few months and it will come up on Now TV, like Rogue One.
Oh yeah. I forget you have that. Yeah, it won't be too long. Honestly, nah.
Yeah.
How much meh did you feel about the first one?
Oh, I like the first one.
Right.
Me too.
I think Force Awakens is a good film.
I think we're on the same page.
It's not like I dislike this one. I'm just whelmed.
Yeah.
But it's a middle chapter.
There were bits. I'm trying to focus on the positive. Like there were bits I liked in it, which we can't talk about.
Yeah, there are some shots in it, like from a visual standpoint, that are really brilliant.
And there's some character stuff I like. I still really like Kylo Ren and Adam.
Kylo Ren is the best character by a long
he's
shot. Even if he feels a little bit out of a time loop, like his character probably should have existed 15 years ago when emo was more of a valid lifestyle choice.
Right. No, but he's good. And anyway,
when you could imagine him slinking into his I don't even know what you call his room, into some of the equipment there, and just lying back in his chair listening to the Rasmus, then then we could have been okay.
So and of course, because I like The Force Awakens, I was really looking forward to this because, everyone knows that The Force Awakens was kind of like a remake-y type thing, but it needed to be, I think, and I felt that was fine. And this was the opportunity to break away from that and do something new or whatever with these awesome, I thought cool new characters and setting and everything. And then so I was really excited, and then I was like, oh meh, damn. Yeah, so it was sad.
It's strange. It's a very strange structure in its storytelling, in that in many ways it feels like Pirates of the Caribbean 2, where they suddenly go, okay, here's a billion story threads. But unlike Pirates of the Caribbean, where they weren't going to conclude in that episode. They were just like, okay, we're going to leave it somewhere, and we'll close the diamond in episode 3.
Cool.
They just decide to close the diamond in a really unsatisfying way.
I mean, one of the things that annoyed me about it was it actually, for me, made Force Awakens retroactively worse because...
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there are things that are deliberately set up as like cliffhanger type things in Force Awakens that then... This makes it clear that there was no plan. And that annoys me because it's like, who made Force Awakens? J.J. Abrams. And what else did he make? Lost. It's the same bloody thing where they set... Yeah. And if you think about, like, for example, the scene where the flashback where Rey's parents are like flying off in a spaceship and she's like, come back, or whatever, or like the Knights of Ren, stuff like that. It's like, I thought there must be a plan, right? But this kind of makes it clear that they have no idea what they're doing. And that annoys me.
There's a lot of characters, all of which should be good individually. I mean, in terms of what they were going for.
Yeah.
But when you're actually watching it, I kind of don't care.
And then
I found myself, like, to me, the actual killer of this is I actually, at several points during the film, I was sat there actually asking myself if I liked it.
Yeah, me too. I had that throughout the film. I wasn't like
rather than just being swept away by it.
Whereas Force Awakens, when I first saw that in the cinema, I was totally swept away by it or whatever. I wasn't thinking, do I like this?
No, I was critiquing it, which I kind of don't want to do.
Exactly. that disappointed me. But then maybe it's my fault, maybe I'm too much of a fan or something.
Maybe, yeah.
And then I was thinking maybe I just don't, I got a bit depressed because I was like, maybe I just don't like anything new, and I'm old now and I only like old stuff. But the counterpoint to that is Mario and Zelda. I know they're an old series, but they are unreservedly great. Like Zelda is an example of doing something brand new with an old thing that was brilliant.
Yeah.
So just because
I don't want to poop on it too hard either, because I think there are parts of it that
yeah.
I'm not going to explain what they are here, but there are things about it that are conceptually very interesting and good for the industry, and there are wider things about it that are good movements in film.
Yeah,
but they're just executed badly.
Yeah. Anyway,
or not as well as I would like.
Let's see what you think, Zeg.
That'd be really interesting.
I was overall a bit sad about it. But never mind. Star Wars isn't everything.
Saddened by it, but because it doesn't really. Yeah. Anyway, I won't say anymore. But yeah,
exactly. Yeah, Star Wars.
They didn't do a Death Star. I'll say that.
Well,
that's good.
The third one. You have the middle one, which doesn't have a Death Star.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Although there was as you know from the trailer, Zeg, but there was a ridiculous scene where they did, obviously they were doing a Empire Strikes Back style, like speeders attacking walkers on snow fight, right, which is in the trailer. But there's a bit where a guy's in the trench with the walkers coming towards him, exactly like Empire Strikes Back, and he leans out to the white stuff and licks it, and he goes, "Salt." Just looks at the camera. Basically, he looks at the camera, being like, it's not snow. It's not exactly the same.
Just in case.
Yeah, just to underline, this is a salt flat. It's a new biome that we haven't actually used yet. Just so you know.
Also, I sort of wish I didn't. The trailer actually, I think, is detrimental to this film as well. Not explaining too much, but I knew things had to. There had to be more to the film
because
when I think it was trying to surprise me because of the trailer. Not that I think those trailers are that badly edited, but I think they do it a disservice overall.
I'll say one thing: it had a sequence that reminded me of Kitty of the cat racing from Grim Fandango.
Oh really? Oh yes,
yes,
100% yes.
So yeah, of course that was a LucasArts production, so they got to recycle their anyway.
Yeah, that sequence was out of place. But anyway,
Star Wars.
Oh boy.
Right, video games.
That's that out of the way. We'll come back. Maybe we'll do a spoilerific version of that once we've all seen it.
Maybe.
That'll be entertaining.
I probably complain about Star Wars forever.
Talk about it on the podcast when I see it.
Yeah.
That's how that will go down, I guess.
Makes sense.
We'll find a place for it. Maybe at the end we'll just go, okay, here we go. Go spoiler territory. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Well, by the time I see it, it won't matter about spoilers. Long.
Yeah, by the time
possibly, if I don't see it within the next couple of weeks, I guess.
When is the floodgate deemed for that stuff in Star Wars land these days?
2 days.
Well, there'll be a bloody, almost certainly terrible Han Solo film coming out really soon.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
I've forgotten about that.
That's going to be a disaster.
Rogue One was fine.
Yeah, but this is going to be I'm worried this is going to be like a comedy or something. Anyway,
it's going to be too much cheese. Too much cheese.
I'm in for that.
Rob always likes cheese.
I'm in for the cheese.
There's quite a lot of cheese in Last Jedi, to be fair. But anyway,
I want some Gran Padano layered all over that. I want a jug of cheese sauce to go with my Han Solo.
I'm just worried it's got Emilia Clarke in, and I don't think she can act. She's all right in Game of Thrones, but anyway. News! What's going on in video game land?
I suppose the most important thing is the Nintendo Mini Direct.
Nintendo.
Most important, I suppose.
Woo-hoo. For us, anyway.
Because it didn't exactly say that much, really.
No, nothing massively exciting, but a few new game announcements and some remasters and stuff like that. Stuff coming to Switch. I mean, at the moment we're still a little bit in the lurch about what's this year's big Switch title, right? We haven't really heard anything from them other than
they don't need anything.
Metroid.
They don't need anything big for a while.
I don't know, a whole year without some noteworthy.
It's not going to be a
year,
though, is it? There'll be something.
Yeah, there needs to be something this year. If you think the Nintendo's recent announcement to release window has been pretty short. Kingdom Battle, the Rabbids thing was like E3 to.
Yeah, but that's not technically Nintendo.
No, true, but Nintendo control that pretty. That's they keep the lid on that pretty closely. That's just how they do things.
And also, it sounded like when they talked about it at that E3, like they'd actually been making that game for quite a while, but they'd actually managed to keep it a secret.
They'd actually managed to keep it fairly secret up until, was it a month or two before E3 when stuff finally started leaking?
Yeah, and then no one believed it.
Yeah,
which helped.
It's kind of real. So let's just get this out of the way. New Mario Tennis game.
Yes, exciting
Mario
for us. It might be.
Is it?
Me.
Theoretically exciting.
Looking at that,
nothing has been good about Mario Tennis since either the first two, right? The Game Boy one and the N64 one.
That's true. Well, how many have there been since then? The GameCube one was not good.
So there was Power Smash on the Cube or something like that, and then I think they did a re-release of that on Wii with motion controls.
Right.
And then they did the World Tour version on Wii U a couple of years ago, which was apparently the worst one they've ever made.
Oh, really?
Like, it was a full price title with no content.
Oh shit, I missed that one.
Well, it's hard to make content for a tennis game, technically.
This one they've taken the story mode from like the Game Boy one, right? Or whatever.
Maybe. I mean, they referenced the Game Boy one, but who knows what the actual story mode will be like.
They literally said for the first time since the Game Boy one, we're putting a story mode in.
Right. I just think looking at the footage, it looked slightly encouraging the way they were powering up. That was the main thing. The
Wii U one looked good and like visually, but
I mean literally the way they're moving. Yeah. It's like
it looks like they're starting a charge and then it's like slowing them down.
Yeah,
it does. That's like drift and stuff.
It kind of looks like Mario Tennis 64 or whatever.
Everything will be in the feel of that game, right? Because that's what was fundamentally wrong with everything after that, other than power moves and stuff. Yeah. And there is the risk of that last shot in the trailer where he manages to power smash the racket out of Wario's hand, and I'm hoping that's a story sequence. Is like maybe that's part of the story mode and that they just make that happen. Because if it's like power moves again, they really need to figure out a way of making that work mechanically in a sort of fair and competitive way.
Yeah.
Because that was always the problem with like the star moves or whatever they were called in Power Smash, and that they just sort of felt like they were randomly given to you.
And but the other thing about that Power Smash is like you could turn off those moves and that was fine, but the core gameplay wasn't as good as it
still wasn't as good.
Yeah, so they just have to get that right again.
As funny as those animations were, though, because nothing really beats Waluigi turning the court into a swimming pool
for no reason
and swimming to the ball.
Well, his entire character is for no reason, so
yeah. It was great that they leaned into that in that respect, but like from a gameplay perspective, it was pants.
Well, so you never know. I'm
not holding out hope. You're right. You never know. They're on an upturn, but.
Maybe we'll get a Mario Golf on Switch as well.
I think golf games in general seem to have like sunk. I haven't seen any golf
because
games
the PGA Tour ones got bad.
Yeah, the EA stuff. Well, EA. Well, this is the one EA Sport title that got bad. I suppose was golf, other than NBA.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah, that the track record for EA just doesn't hold well anywhere across the board, other than Madden and FIFA. They're the only games that seem to do well at the moment. The golf got bad. Golf Story, surprise, sort of a sleeper hit of last year on the Switch.
You could argue that that's not really a golf game at some point.
Well, it's top down. It's old school golf.
Yeah,
basically, it's sensible golf. No, Cat doesn't like golf.
Or
Cat's had enough of that.
Very suddenly.
Game Boy Mario Golf, which had a story for some reason.
Oh yeah.
It did.
RPG golf.
And was quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not holding out a huge amount of hope. Anyway,
It's quite soon though, isn't it? It's like spring or something.
yeah, not far.
Hopefully, we'll get a demo. That'd be nice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that'd be good.
get a taste of the feel of it, and then go no.
Yeah, exactly. That'll actually let us know, because that's a game where a demo will actually help.
Yeah,
You can tell immediately.
well, unless it's rubbish, and then they won't put a demo out. But then, they haven't put many demos out for their own products.
Not yet, no.
No.
I mean, I think there was talk recently about there being more demos coming to Switch, but that might just be all the third-party stuff.
Or maybe they're doing like late demos, right? Their title's been out for a while. They've made the sales, and it's like, okay, let's try and rope a few more in. Let's do a late demo.
Maybe. But also, they haven't really had many games that you can make demos of. Like, you can't make a demo of Mario or Zelda.
Yeah, Zelda you'd struggle. But I reckon you could do some stuff with Mario.
Yeah, but you could waste content in Mario. You want all the content to be in the actual game. If you're then letting people get some of it for free in the demo, it devalues the main product.
I mean, that's the true of all demos, in fairness, but
yeah, but not so much for like a sports game where you're just playing a match. It's like that.
Well, but then a sports game is entirely
the whole game.
But then a sports game is entirely that generally. Like, I almost think it's the other way around. Like, a demo for a sports game is probably more detrimental.
Only if it's bad. That's the thing. If it's good, then it's just like, well, this feels fine, so there's no reason to not purchase it.
But then if the demo's too good, why would you buy the real thing?
Yeah, but the demos are never going to give you, like, if it's a tennis one, I bet it will be, like, singles. And you'll only be able to play against the CPU.
Maybe.
There's not ever going to be any multiplayer in that demo.
Maybe.
That's true. You could play it forever.
Like we used to with some games back in the day.
Yeah, there were some demos that were like almost like famously mistakes. Like the ones I reference are Shadows of the Empire, right, where they gave you the whole Hoth sequence,
it gave you the
which
best
is all you
bit,
needed, and Skate. Although I did end up buying Skate, but they gave you a skate park, and then you could just. Was it timed? I think
Skate was timed though. That was why that demo was bad. That was what encouraged you to buy the actual game, because you had to keep restarting it every like 10 minutes when the timer ran out.
But it basically had all of it in it, didn't it? Like you could do. It even had the half pipe. Part. Yeah.
I guess.
But then you could do like what is it? The Tony Hawk's 2 demo was pretty strong as well, with like that opening level. So you could get a feel for how that game functioned.
I mean, used to get quite. I mean,
well, it wasn't even the opening level. It was one that was about halfway through, wasn't it? It was the first skate park or something. Yeah.
I mean, that classic disc we got in '95, the Command & Conquer demo had like 3 missions in it or something, including one where you built a whole base and had like freaking orcas and shit. I seem to remember, and that was in the demo.
Yeah, it's a pretty big chunk, and those were out of sequence as well, weren't they? So they were 3 random missions.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure there were racing games that we just would only play that one track on because that's all we had from the demo.
Wipeout 2097.
Boy, I played that demo way too much. Or the Screamer 2 demo was pretty good as well, until we actually bought the full thing.
Yeah, then we just played Screamer 2 and shit fun.
There is a pattern, right, where like generally if the demo is really good, we bought the game, even if
generally.
What a surprise!
I mean, they worked with us back then. I mean, there were the odd demo that was somewhat, I guess you could call it slightly misleading, because you'd play the demo and be like, oh, the rest of the game's just this. Well, the one not much more of it.
The one that was weirdly misleading, but then turned out better than the demo indicated was Revolt. Because the physics in the real game were better than they were in the demo.
Oh, I do not remember the demo for Revolt. I only remember the final thing.
Which was weird. It was mainly weird because in the demo version of Revolt, you'd always use Sprinter XL, the blue car.
Oh no, I do remember this
because that was the best car. But then when you got to the full version, it's that the physics had changed and that car was way harder to control.
Yeah,
it's I guess I'll use one of these other cars that's now better.
Was that just because we were exposed to the various physics options at that point?
No, I think it was legitimately different. Because I think even in the demo, it had the physics options. Because it was before you entered the race, that was part of the menu you went through, was the physics options was on the way to choosing the map and the car.
And in fairness, they only really controlled collisions.
Yeah.
Mostly. Not your actual grip. Boy, I tried playing the N64 version of that the other day. That game was hard. It's almost impossible to control.
You have to get used to it and make sure you pick the right car. Because some of those cars were very like Sprinter XL in the full game. That was real difficult.
Revolt. What else we got in this Nintendo Direct? None of us played The World Ends With You when it was originally a DS title.
Yeah, I thought about it at the time, but then I didn't.
Yeah, it does look interesting, but that's being remastered and brought to the Switch. The Switch. What else do we care about? We don't really care about Dark Souls Remastered.
And that's coming to everything, not just the Switch.
Yeah. It was just weirdly sort of revealed on the Switch. I do wonder what they'll change in that. Like if it is just a visual upgrade, or if it's actually designed to fix some of the jank, or if it will be like a 60 FPS update like the PC version.
That'll be the main thing. Like making the physics work at like normal frame rate nowadays would be a help. And also what they do about like the back-end online systems.
Oh, sure.
Because presumably they'll have to build some kind of new version of that for this remaster.
Yeah, I imagine they'll probably just. Did they turn off? I think they may have already turned off the original Dark Souls or something.
Well, because originally they had the problem with games for Windows Live, and then that got shut down, and they had to repatch that to make it work again.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. That Kirby game got a name that I can't remember. Star Allies or something?
Yeah. It's confusing because there's still like that other Kirby Battle Royale also is still coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Like too many Kirby games are happening simultaneously.
Well, this Kirby game is just more like a straight up old school Kirby game, right?
This is the actual Kirby game. Battle Royale is like a weird mini game.
Yeah. There's a demo for that.
Yeah.
Battle Royale. Which I haven't tried. Anything else interesting in that Direct? I'm struggling to remember.
Not really.
Nah.
They didn't go back to any of the main announcements. They didn't even make any more hints, but I guess it was a mini. Maybe we'll get an actual Nintendo Direct relatively soon, and then like maybe the Pokemon company will come back and say, "Yeah, we're still working."
Well, I mean, yeah, Pokemon's getting DLC. That's the other thing I can remember, but not that interesting. And also, is it going to follow Smash Bros. Pricing? Are you going to get fighting pricing wrong?
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, that was always the trouble with Pokemon. It was just like there were so few characters. It's like if it does follow Smash Bros. Pricing, it makes it even worse because there was already so few characters in that game. You want more characters, and then they're too expensive. Whereas in Smash Bros, we didn't really care if we didn't have 2 more characters because we already had like 30.
Sure. Yeah. The money ratio didn't work out in Smash Bros. It's interesting as those characters they added seem.
Yeah. As ridiculously overpowered as they seem. According to the pro play, anyway.
Yeah. That Bayonetta, though. So there was that. I apologise. I was trying to bring the notes up on my phone, but of course the note app decided to update itself as I was doing so. So that's not helpful. Yeah.
Well, we've got some other remakes, not Nintendo ones, right?
It's true.
Not remakes, remasters, whatever.
Remasters, yeah.
Re-releases, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Slight improvements to old games that are coming back to suck your wallet dry.
Such as
Burnout Paradise. The Burnout we're not that happy with.
The Burnout everyone likes except us. Like, just remaster Burnout 3 and I'll play it.
Yeah, totally will. Even Revenge or the 360, whatever the 361 was, I'll play those.
Yeah, 4 was not as good, but it was good still.
There did seem to be some, like, I did see a couple of articles floating around about hey, why don't they just re-release Burnout 2?
Sure.
Which is because that's a weird one, right? That was before the takedowns were really a thing.
Well, that was like the transitional. It was less weird than Burnout 1.
Yeah.
But it wasn't quite so takedowny as 3 was. Because 3 was 100% about takedowns.
2 was the one where they expanded upon their boost mechanics more than anything.
Yeah.
That's true. But I think it all came together with 3, really.
Yeah.
And then 4, they added like
of...
traffic checking, which was dumb, I think.
Yeah, very bad.
You should instantly crash if you run into someone coming the other direction.
Oh, but they won't come in the other direction. That was the thing. You had to check them behind.
The traffic checking in the same direction was even worse because the physics of it didn't make any sense. Where you just hit them and they ping miles away.
Yeah.
Like you were literally firing them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I thought traffic check, doing a traffic check to ping someone miles ahead of you into another player. That was brilliant.
You might as well just have weapons at that point. I mean, come on. If you're going to do that. If that was going to be a tactic for taking people down, just give you a weirdly weak ass weapon that can do it and not have it be traffic checking. Because traffic checking just ruined the whole ruined half the obstacles of the game.
Sure,
it was the whole point was to avoid traffic and weave through it and get near misses.
Yeah,
and then they replaced that with traffic checking.
You could still do that on the other side of the road, though, right? Because that was all you would do, right? You wouldn't stay on the left-hand side.
Then it made it too easy to stay on the other side of the road because you just traffic check through the traffic.
You wouldn't be getting boost for it.
Yeah, but you'd still be getting some boost because you were on the opposite side of the road, and that still gave you the points for that.
No, but because you wouldn't be getting boost because you'd have to be checking the traffic, so you'd be travelling with traffic, so you wouldn't be gaining boost that way.
No, you could traffic check opposing traffic.
No, that caused you a crash.
I don't think it did.
That was the whole point.
No, I'm not sure that was how it worked.
Pretty certain on that. Pretty certain. Because otherwise there'd be near miss wouldn't be a thing anymore.
It pretty much wasn't.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's right. Anyway, they're remaking the open world one, which just I don't know, they didn't sit well with me at all. It's just I thought the races were duller, and you found yourself doing the same routes more often.
And the world was like you went so fast, and the world was so small that you had to turn pretty. I don't know.
And but I guess none of the races were fixed route either. So
they were get to this
fixed place, and it was always the same fixed places on the edges of the map, and it was so the finish points were always the same places.
Yeah.
But that meant I don't know. You either learned a specific route to get to that place and did that every time, or you would try and experiment and often get lost and end up on a path that took you completely the wrong direction because it wasn't clear where it was going. And even if you tried to follow the in-game's directions to say, "Oh, you need to take the turn here," they often came way too late because you were traveling at such speed, and it's like, "Oh, I need to take which turn? Which turn? And what? But oh no!" I just not a lot about that game really made me that happy. I still finished all of it, but pretty much. But
you seem to be the minorities in this, though, for some reason.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Anyway,
give me more tailored challenges, please. Catherine is coming back as well. Of all the games that they could, I don't think Catherine should have really had a remaster. I think it deserved a sequel of some kind, a completely different, perhaps the same premise, but a completely different cast and storyline, different Catherines. I don't know if a remaster really does it for me, but as much as I actually really quite liked that game, but I think I share the opinion of a lot of people where I really liked its story premise way more than I liked its puzzle.
The puzzle gaming
mechanics. And where the puzzling actually got really hard towards the end of that game, which then, of course, stopped your progress through doing the fun stuff and seeing where it all goes. So they have complicated things with this remaster because it's not a straight remaster. They're adding a third romance option, however that's going to work. With a third Catherine, who's not called Catherine, is just called Rin, but that must be a shortening of Catherine in some way.
That kind of dilutes the concept, doesn't it? Really. Having a third.
Well, it could play out in some interesting ways, potentially.
Well, yeah.
But then, but they've never really crossed paths too much, the two Catherines. That was kind of the point, apart from a couple of scenes where it was, the classic, don't look round the door frame kind of thing. Catherine.
Catherine.
Shame it's not a sequel.
What else we got?
I've got my notes now. So like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze was the other remaster Nintendo's working on.
Oh yeah.
Switch.
Well, probably not enough people played that. So yeah.
Yeah, that game's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, that might be worth a punt. Depends how expensive it is. If they release it full price, that'd be annoying.
Which I bet they will. Yeah. But it's carrying on their trend of re-releasing Wii U stuff.
The Wii U stuff, yeah.
Well, which is cool. That's fine. I can get behind that.
With that. Yeah.
I do reckon they will eventually bring out 3D World, like Super Mario 3D World on Switch as well, along with Mario Maker. That's got to happen, right?
Mario Maker will definitely happen, but that'll be a new game. Well, not new, but new version. Yeah, not a remaster.
Although I think they could quite happily get away with like a sort of
they could, but
plus edition, like Super Duper Mario Maker
Deluxe Edition, or something.
Yeah, but that is basically a new game at that point. If you make significant changes to like the mechanics and stuff, or just make it work more,
just more,
and put more things in it, then that is just a new game. That's not a remaster, because really that's all the game is the stuff.
I guess. Yeah, you just want to add more Mario to your Maker.
There's an English language release of Detective Pikachu coming. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
With his ridiculous voice. Have you seen he's got Detective Pikachu is not the same as Pikachu. He's got like a weird gravelly voice. He's got like a deerstalker hat, like he's Sherlock Holmes, but he sounds like a kind of noir American detective. It's really weird.
Is this like from the perspective of like the mystery dungeon world where the Pokemon all talk and things like that?
No, it's in the real world, isn't it?
Is it?
There's Pokemon in it though, right?
Sure. I mean, not the real world of the Pokemon universe. Where humans are Pokemon. It's basically like this Pikachu is like Meowth from the anime, where it's suddenly one of them can talk for some reason.
I think that's it. Yeah, it's like Meowth, yeah. And the specific Pikachu has like a weird... Yeah. Anyway. Detective Pikachu. And they're making a giant amiibo for some reason, which is like twice the size of the normal Pikachu amiibo.
Sweet. Who doesn't like big figures?
Big pigs. There's what else we got?
The other thing I had was that they were doing some DLC for Mario Odyssey, which adds
oh yeah,
not exactly DLC. I
guess. Adds a somewhat pointless balloon game that I don't really like the look of.
Just some extra stuff. It's not paid for, is it?
No, it's free.
A free update. Okay.
The only other bit of news I got here is the Vive Pro is a thing.
Oh yeah. Forgot about that. God knows how much that's going to cost.
Oh boy, that is the one problem with this. Yeah, the Vive is still hella expensive. The Oculus actually got pretty reasonably priced over the break. Like it was going for like 300 quid, I think, at one point for like the Oculus and the touch controllers.
Oh really?
And it's like, yeah, it's got pretty decently priced. Although that wasn't the room scale version. If you wanted room scale, you'd still have to somehow buy another sensor and figure out how to set that up with long USB cables. And stuff like that. So that's still reasonably awkward to do with Oculus, but
Vive are going down the like super pro route or whatever. Yeah, like best possible experience.
Yep, wireless is the key word here. Wireless.
Amazing.
Yeah, they finally figured out how to do it. Like this is because it's a higher resolution. It's a high resolution screen as well.
Yeah.
Like so it's high resolution in the headset. It's super low latency wireless video. Which maybe they borrowed off
built-in headphones.
I don't know.
Well, they borrowed off Steam Link. That works pretty damn well, considering it's streaming a PC resolution monitor over your home network.
Sure. But in VR, like the latency has to be unbelievably low. Like not just controller input low. It has to be like to avoid the swimmy head feeling.
But it won't have to go over the whole distance of your house.
No.
You'll be pretty much adjacent to the transmitter.
It does seem like there has to be a fairly beefy transmitter set up in the room. Like that thing looks a reasonable size.
Surely the distance in your house isn't going to make much difference, though, Zeg, is it? Surely that's the light speed, right? Pretty much.
Yes, but light speed is slow. That's the trouble with communication technology.
No, it isn't. It's not slow. It's all the other stuff that's slow, isn't it?
Surely it's the conversion to and from.
It's all the conversions,
formats,
isn't it?
Sluggish bit. I mean,
And
yeah,
it
it's
probably
slow
won't
for,
be
for
transmitting
super
from-
long distance, right?
Well,
like
yes.
space.
Even the distance of the Earth is pretty slow.
Satellite delay.
Yeah, that's a slightly different thing.
Yeah, well, that's a lot further, right? Going to geo or synchronous orbit and back is quite a lot further than going through a cable to
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh no, yeah, that was my point. Yeah. Anyway, this thing seems. It seems pretty awesome if it's true. It's got built-in headphones as well now, so you don't have to worry about wearing a headset over the
Where's the
Vive.
battery going to go?
Yeah, where is the battery? How heavy is it?
On the back of your head.
More importantly, what's the strapping like? Have they learned from Sony and Oculus to make slightly more comfortable headset?
Yeah. Well, if they get all those things right, I want to try one. I need to see if Hope
absolutely
gets one for her office. Then I'll go back for another visit.
Yeah.
Upgraded.
Well, I just want to try your VR out for a bit.
Yeah. Done it once before, so hopefully they'll upgrade. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, sounds cool. I didn't see enough detail about the strapping or anything to see what it's actually like. But the bullet point list of it's just wireless. That's the thing. It's just that. That's the big takeaway. Oh, something about they've completely redesigned the lighthouses, so you need new ones of those to make this work. So you can't necessarily use your existing lighthouse setup. Yeah, it is like a full ass revision.
Full ass revision.
It's a plastic surgeon for your VR.
Revising your ass completely. Cool. Okay. Well, we'll see what that's like. It might be this next step in the VR land.
Yeah. Cost is still the. In fairness, money is the only hurdle. Otherwise, I think I'd have one of these right now.
Do you think?
Yeah.
But don't you think this is proof positive that everything's still evolving quite quickly, right? And that buying one of these things at this point is probably a bad idea because the next year there'll be something better.
Maybe, but then how do you what would the step
where do you
need
stop
for Vive Pro? Yeah, beyond Vive Pro, what else is really on your hit list of things you need to solve?
For you though, you've got a really powerful PC, so you're in a good position.
Yeah, I can actually power this stuff.
Yeah, you can actually power it. Whereas a lot of people they'd be paying for the thing, which would be really expensive, and then they'd need all this equipment just to get it to work.
Well, that's not going to change, though. It's always going to need fairly ridiculously large amounts of power.
I mean, in theory, you could argue that an Xbox One X is probably powerful enough to deal with this, right? In terms of raw GPU requirements.
Better than PSVR, I guess.
Yeah. Not that I have too
Even
much
though
of a problem.
PSVR had its own breakout box, which was meant to help with that.
Yeah. Not that I have too much of a problem with PSVR. I do think it actually works surprisingly well for the limited amount of technology that it actually utilizes.
But what's the ideal then? You want to be able to power two high-res screens both at the same time at 120 hertz. Is that right? Is that what you want?
Yeah, ideally. I think some headsets out there only run at 90 or something weird like that. But
so you kind of want 4 times the
120 is
gaming
the target.
PC that you would normally need, right?
Yeah. Although it's not, I don't think even Oculus is like a full 1080 to each eye. It's like
right
1080 shared or something. I really don't know. Is the honest answer. The horizontal resolution, I think, ends up being less important than vertical.
Well, we'll see what Vive Pro do as well for their resolution. Don't know if it's different.
It is supposedly higher in Vive Pro than it is on the regular Vive. Which did make me wonder, does this actually mean you need a more powerful rig to drive it? Are they actually going to force that resolution on you? Or can you just run regular Vive res or something and that the screen's good enough to just scale it nicely? Or, super sample if you need, or the other way. Okay.
Anyway.
Interesting. VR's still fun. I still want to play Shooty Fruity. God.
Should probably get to what you've been playing.
That's the end of the news. There is no news.
Yeah, there's no other news.
News over. Tell us about Mass Effect 2, Dan.
It's pretty good.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
I mean, why are you playing it again?
I don't know. I just started thinking about it.
We talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about it. And then, I don't know, Zach played it all again.
Well, I played it several times, but that was mainly because I was still trying to get like all the different run-throughs done, and I never did. Still never finished that full Renegade run.
Oh, you're going full Renegade. I don't know, I was just like, was that as good as I remember? And it's like, obviously it's aged quite a bit, but not that badly. And I was trying to remember, it's actually more shooty than I remember. And of course, there's all the planet scanning. I forgot about that.
But easier with a mouse. Thank God.
Which is quite easy with a mouse. Well, I at first I was like, oh shit, this is going to be boring. And then I realized that you need an upgrade, which you get really quickly that makes it doable. Because at first it's terrible. And then it's like, oh, now I can do it.
And also, if your mouse happens to have speed control buttons,
just
bump up your speed while you're doing the scanning. It makes it much quicker to move the camera.
You can just speed all around. Yeah, exactly. Trying to remember, it's the fact that, like, I think I said this before, but it's like the performances are pretty good. So it doesn't matter that the animation isn't amazing. Like, it's good enough and it's not off-putting. So you can sort of just concentrate on what's like some of the animation is a bit like, especially because I think in the first one it was very sort of talking heads, like over the shoulder shots back and forth, which was basic but worked. But in Mass Effect 2 they're trying to do some sort of characters getting up, walking around, sitting down in scenes and stuff, and it's like a bit awkward. It doesn't quite work. Like, they're trying to be a bit more ambitious about it in this one, and I think they probably got it right by Mass Effect 3, but Mass Effect 2 it's a little bit stilted. They like randomly stand up and walk around and sit down and then resume the conversation in kind of a weird way. But yeah, I mean, compared to the Andromeda stuff, it's perfectly playable and good. And I'd just forgotten the worlds and stuff, and some of that stuff is quite nice. I just wanted to like Star Trek around a bit, but not, visit some planets and stuff. I don't know.
You don't get to drive the Mako.
No, that's true. There's no Mako stuff.
Well, I suppose are you playing with all the DLC downloaded?
Yes, you could play with the not Mako in the DLC.
Did Mass Effect 2 have the weird floaty craft? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm playing the Steam version. I think it's all on Origin, isn't it? But like, I remember there being a whole problem about trying to get their DLC.
Because it's not technically. I think you can still get it in the Steam version because it's not technically in Origin. It's in Cerberus Network, which was the DLC delivery system they made specifically for Mass Effect.
For the game, right? Yeah.
And I think if you can find them, you could technically just download exe files that will just install the DLC onto the game.
I think on Xbox,
because I think I still have those saved.
I think on Xbox they might have actually been separate DLC packages, but you accessed them through Cerberus in the game, but it still pulled up the Xbox downloader or something. It was a bit weird.
Yeah. So if you can get it to sign in, assuming those servers still work.
Oh, yeah, because you had the Australian dude as well. He was DLC. Yeah. Free DLC.
But yeah, I think theoretically, not that I'm saying you should do this, but I think you could probably just get the exe files from somewhere on the internet and just have them installed.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure they are just installers.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway. Yeah. But I'm doing okay with just the core game.
Those hovercraft missions were pretty good.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Oh, were they good?
Showed that like the hovercraft is a superior mechanism for driving around.
Yeah,
of course, the Mako car.
They were quite fun. And then there was the pointless one was the revisit the Normandy crash site.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the initial one. Right?
Interesting in some ways.
Yeah, but the Merc, that's a fairly big bit of DLC, right? Adding a whole character.
Yeah,
and then
and the other character they did, the stealth thief woman.
Oh, I don't remember. Was she paid for? I don't remember her.
She was. Yeah. I think she might have been the last DLC. That mission where you have to go to a party and stealthily infiltrate their secret
cool
computer server in the party.
Oh, was this set on? Was this one of the ones? Oh, what's the rebel asteroid thing called?
Omega.
Was it set there or something?
Don't think it was. I think you started the mission there, I think. But then you got in a shuttle and went to this party wherever the hell it was.
I'm in a party shuttle.
But yeah, you had to Shepard had to get dressed up, so you had to get a nice fancy suit.
Nice.
Or whatever.
I hope that was a suit you could wear throughout the rest of the game.
I think you could.
Sweet. You should land on an alien planet with a suit and a helmet.
Yes.
That's badass.
And the Shadowbreaker, of course. The classic.
Oh, the Shadowbreaker.
I never played that, but everyone says that was like one of the best. Like in the entire series, that might be the best story.
I don't really remember much of the gameplay of the Shadowbreaker. Like the story is that's a thing, kind of important in some ways, but I don't really remember. I only remember the very end of it, where you're like infiltrating the Shadowbreaker ship, and then you fight your way through that. Then it's just like fighting in a ship. It's not that distinct, I guess. You go outside of it, which makes it slightly interesting.
I know the
weather effects.
I know the outcome of it is sort of spoilt by Mass Effect 3 in some ways, which is a bit of a shame, but
the whole
kind of necessary, situation. I suppose. Yeah. So, how far are you in? How long have you played? It seems like you were popping up on Steam a lot.
No, don't think so. I've only got as far as like when it opens up after you go to a collector attack or whatever. So now it's opened up all the loyalty missions and the second round of dossiers or whatever. Yeah.
Once you actually like get through the whole Omega thing.
Yeah. I've done all the Omega where you get Garrus and Morden.
Oh man, sorry, some of this is all flashing back to me.
It's
I forgot
good.
about the elusive man
and the elusive man. Thing. Yeah, that's like, good.
Oh, and how I thought some of the set design in Star Wars probably should have cribbed from the elusive man.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I like the elusive man stuff in 2. He gets a bit ridiculous in 3 in terms of his motivations, but in 2 he's a bit more mysterious. And and the whole like, oh, you're working for Cerberus, and is that cool, and all that stuff. I don't know, it's pretty nice. And Morden's a great character, of course. He's not in the first game, so it's good to have him and everything. So I'm just got to decide what's the next mission to do. I might go and do I remember the tally stuff being quite good in Mass Effect 2. She's back on her.
Her mission's the one where the planet you're on has the really bright sun, where you can't stand out of shadows for very long.
Right.
But so the Democratic flotilla story was 3, was it? Because there's one about there was some sort of internal turmoil amongst the.
Well, they also
the flotilla.
Two. When you find Tally in 2 is the burning sun planet, and then her loyalty mission is
the Democratic
go to the fleet and infiltrate that busted up ship.
Yeah, that's cool, that stuff. So yeah, I gotta go and
Tally's one of my favourite characters in the whole series, to be honest. She sat really well with me.
Garrus is good. I like his voice acting.
Yeah, Garrus is proper cool.
Morden is cool. Like, it's got good characters and stuff. Which I like, and I haven't seen for a long time. So
there was a thing going, like a recent. I can't remember who posted it, but like one of the journalists, they were talking in depth about how they could make a Garrus Vicarian Private Eye game, and it'd be awesome.
Yeah, because he's kind of weird in this one. You meet him again, and he's like then like a crazy like vigilante. Not really a mercenary, but like he's had a whole team as well that all got killed. But I don't know what he was really doing other than trying to rid the galaxy of scumbags. Yeah, I think he got fed up with CSEC and was like, I'm gonna. But
I could do this better on my own.
But he basically is like a vigilante, I think, right? So he's fighting these powerful gangs, but for no like reward really, as far as I can tell, other than to like fight crime, I guess, or fight evil. I don't know. He's like the freelance police or something. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, but yeah.
Because you meet him and have to do that sniper mission to get
yeah. Because he's like everyone's calling him. They give him a stupid name, and he wears like full face armor, so you can't tell who he is and stuff. And you don't know it's him until you meet him, and it's like, oh, it's that like
Shepard. This is my favorite story on the Citadel.
Yeah, that's one thing. Rex is kind of missing Rex. Unlike, it's got like Grunt, who I've just found Grunt or whatever, but he's still in the tank, so I haven't actually. Okay, I might just leave him there. Don't know if I could be bothered. I think you can do. I think you can leave him in the tank for the entire game and not open it.
Well, I wonder how that. Oh man, that's really interesting. Because then, like, what happens in 3? Because he's.
But it doesn't care or what.
No, but then surely Grant won't know who you are.
Well, I think everyone knows. They can probably hand wave that quite easily.
Maybe.
Like, oh, I've been told about you after I came out of the tank on the Great Hope World. And Rex told me about you, probably.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Grunt actually knows you at all. He doesn't actually get much time to develop any knowledge of anything during Mass Effect 2, technically. He comes out of the tank without any actual knowledge.
Yeah.
He has theoretical knowledge, instincts and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, but you talks to you a lot during Mass Effect 2 if you want to.
Well, I wouldn't say he actually talks to you that much. Talks to you a little bit.
Maybe I'll go and have a talk to him. Like, yeah, all that stuff is, and I like the ship and stuff is cool. And everything, like the aesthetic of everything is nice. Even though obviously the graphics are a bit dated, doesn't matter as much as it used to, does it?
No. Well, yeah, it's the sort of the 360 era is where it sort of started getting out of what I guess we could consider that dated look of old 3D. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got it's definitely got the 360 age definitely has a style now. If you look back at it, and it's like, this is what we could do, and it's like, something that's been surpassed by modern physically based rendering and all that nonsense. But it's a charm in a strange way. It's a style that keeps its charm, which is less true of PS1 and PS2 era stuff. You could argue.
Yeah, I think that's true. Obviously, 3 looks better, but 2 I like the kind of weird story of 2, of where you're the elusive man stuff and how you're just like recruiting a team. It's a bit more like normal Star Trek or whatever, where it's like it's not a big overarching story necessarily, or it is, but it's like,
they make good on the awkwardness of a middle chapter in a trilogy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With the exception of its ending, but it's.
Well, only the very, very end. Like the ending is good. Yeah. It's just the final boss is stupid.
Final boss, yeah.
But the actual ending, like the suicide mission, is a really good idea that was pretty well executed. Apart from that,
I think that was my one complaint with it, even at the time, was that because of the freeform nature of how you go about getting through that game, that the stakes always felt lower.
Right.
Than Mass Effect 1. Like there was less of a drive. There was less of a coherent storyline through it all. But which is fine. They were going for a different thing, and but it's not necessarily a bigger drive for me. Even if it doesn't say like race against time at the end, and you just spend like 4 hours doing other things.
In Mass Effect 1, you didn't know that the stakes were as big as they were until quite late on.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It also didn't seem like Mass Effect 1 had any race against time to it, because you were just trying to follow this Spectre dude who was clearly doing bad things, but it didn't point to anything major happening immediately.
No, but you know what I mean? Like some of how you progressed through that game and learned more. I know there is this stuff in Mass Effect 2 as well, but like the way you could go in 1, the major locations were always progressed something.
Well, they were very clear about this is the story mission.
Yeah.
Not that they don't do that in 2, I guess, except in 2 they don't.
The two is more.
In 1, it basically reveals to you where the story missions are from the start.
Yes.
It's like, if you go do these, this is when you're going to progress the story. Whereas in 2, it's just like, as you're doing other stuff, it's like, oh, you've done sufficient other stuff, now let's have a story mission.
But
even when you did the story stuff, it didn't push things forward as much as the story stuff in 1. That's what I mean.
That's probably true.
2's all about the side stories.
It is
more than it is about its core story,
which I like, because I like the side stories. Like,
oh no, they are
more.
Good, but like I sometimes I like having that drive at times. Like,
right.
Really like okay, this is why I'm invested.
But in 3, it almost felt it was pretty horrible, because like you had the drive to like stop the Reapers and finish the war, but the entire game, like the Reapers were killing everyone on Earth, right? There was no point where you didn't feel like everything was, going to shit, and like, do you know what I mean?
And then
like,
you had to do side missions.
Yeah, exactly. Which felt really weird, whereas that isn't a problem.
You're right.
I always found that really strange about 3, is it's just really depressing, because like, you're doing side missions while everything's on fire, and you can see Reapers like destroying every world of the galaxy.
Yeah, all the home worlds. Right?
Yeah,
getting reaped.
Exactly. Will you reap him with your grim reaping equipment? Yeah.
One reaps.
I was talking to someone about Mass Effect 2 yesterday, and then started talking about KOTOR and KOTOR 2, and I was like, KOTOR 2 was the weird one, right? That was Obsidian, and like had like all these weird morally grey, because I was thinking about Star Wars as well. Like in comparison, it would like KOTOR was like pretty spot on in terms of Star Wars, and then KOTOR 2 was like they really went really weird with it, and it was like rushed, and I was like, hold on a minute, I'm in the middle of a playthrough of KOTOR 2. I'll fire that up. So I fired it up. That was 2013.
Right.
My save game file says.
Yeah.
Anyway,
some time ago.
So maybe I'll carry on with KOTOR 2. It's good. I'm still not sure if I prefer the KOTOR style of click on the entire sentence that your character is going to say, and your character doesn't say anything and instantly expresses that. Or the Mass Effect more cinematic style of your character is fully voiced, but you only have like a wheel that doesn't exactly tell you what you're saying.
Right, I see. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it works well in Mass Effect, and I really like that it can because it makes it fully, cinematic, because you can actually choose the option before the other person finishes speaking, so it sounds like an actual conversation. Whereas obviously in KOTOR, the person just sits there waiting for you to pick the sentence to say, so it doesn't actually work like a movie scene. But at the same time, it's kind of, once you get used to it, you know exactly what you're saying and what they're saying. Do you see what I mean? So it doesn't look as good, and you don't have your character and everything talking with a good voice acting and stuff. But in terms of actual story and investment, I think it might actually be better, the kind of more traditional RPG way. Do you see what I mean?
Because you're reviewing every choice in detail, you mean?
Exactly.
Sentiment.
And you get the full meaning of the sentence you're saying. So that means they don't have to, because in Mass Effect, every response in every single conversation has to be like a question from a set of things on the left, or like a good or like a Paragon Renegade sort of response on the right, do you see what I mean? Everything is kind of like conversations have to be categorized in a certain way, whereas every conversation in the game has to fit that model. Whereas if it's just free flowing text, you could have there's no limit to the kind of conversation that you could have, So I think it was a bit more freeing for the writers and stuff. But the effect is different. It's kind of interesting. But anyway,
it's trickier to have have a natural conversation, or at least have a slightly more natural conversation flow out, because Mass Effect attempts to get around that by putting the options on screen early.
Yeah, exactly.
Like during a conversation where like they're on their last sentence or something, it's like, oh, okay, here's how you follow up. Yeah, and you can pick the option and it will flow.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but as you say, you've got less time to figure out what's going on. And in fairness, that is the model that has kind of stuck with us.
It has,
thanks to things like Telltale series and the quick conversation choices you have to make there.
Yeah. It's just that I think it's that one character really in KOTOR 2, Kreia, right? Who's like the interesting one, right? Because she's she's a Jedi master, but she's like true neutral, I think.
Sure. Yeah. Was it what do they call her? She's the blue lady, right?
No,
she's the one.
No, she's
who lives by her own code and stuff like that, and attempts to.
Well, she sort of does that. Is she blue? She's like quite pale, and she has a hood that covers her eyes, so she can't see. And she's got.
Oh, was this the thief lady? I don't remember her at all.
This is like the main secondary character in KOTOR 2, I would say.
Oh, KOTOR. Sorry, I was getting confused with Mass Effect again. Sorry.
Oh no! So there's this one character in KOTOR 2, which is like I think it's the reason to play. It's really because like obviously those games are old and they really are showing their age, because that's like OG Xbox kind of graphics. But yeah, she's really interesting because she does this whole thing where you do your typical like charitable thing as like a good RPG person, where someone needs help and you help them out, right? Some random person, and she's like, "Why did you help them?" and then explains that like charity can be bad for people and that they can become like dependent or whatever, or that they don't get experience, and that, you know, if you're giving them money or something, then they're going to become a target and they're going to get robbed and all of this stuff. And then she's like, but so you're by helping them out, you're robbing them of experience, but you're gaining experience, as in, of course it's an RPG, you're literally gaining experience. So if she's like, if that's true, then go for it. Like, you got to help everyone out and feed off them and by helping them actually injure them, but gain power through it. It's kind of weird.
Interesting. Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
I guess it's a sort of an analysis of the RPG genre.
Exactly, and also of like the Jedi way and stuff. She's like the question everything basically, which is kind of cool and not the sort of thing you'd expect in Star Wars, really. She's like, walk the line, don't be light side, don't be dark side, whatever kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know about her because I never really played KOTOR beyond like the opening sequence or something. Like, really didn't touch it at all. Yeah. So something about, not that it was one of those. KOTOR's always been one of those games that I think I can appreciate at a distance, but actually playing it doesn't look like anything I would.
I mean, it was good at the time. You should have played it in 2003. I mean, it was pretty great. But yeah, and also because I was a Star Wars fan, that was doubly good. But like, it was basically proto Mass Effect, you know, except because it was still on the like D&D system from like Neverwinter Nights or whatever, but it was fully 3D and it was Star Wars, so like it was pretty good. It was kind of BioWare coming into their own after. Like, because what did BioWare make? Baldur's Gate, right?
I really don't know. I don't have much of a.
They did do like classic RPGs, I think, that people liked, but they were just too
dense,
nerdy, yeah, for me. So when they made a like accessible Star Wars game that happened to be the best thing to happen to Star Wars since the original movies, during the time when they were putting out those terrible prequels, they was like, yeah, this is great.
It's like, oh yeah, things in Star Wars can still be used. Because don't forget, let's not write off. There were some pretty great Star Wars games around that time. Like even you know, there's a bit of the age of Pod Racer, which is good, even though it was based on.
Yeah, but KOTOR is the best one, like ever, probably. Apart from,
Republic Commando is good.
I think KOTOR is up there with TIE Fighter as the best Star Wars game. Yeah. Or maybe Rebel Assault 2, I quite like. Oh, no, not Rebel Assault. What am I saying? Rogue Squadron 2.
Rogue Squadron's good. A lot of people have a fondness for Jedi Knights too.
Yeah. Anyway, KOTOR is the best one.
Fair enough. Definitive. The Happy Salad best Star Wars game as of 2018. KOTOR.
Yeah, I can't see it being beaten.
Oh yeah. I got a little bit of admin I forgot to mention. I kind of ballsed up the very first category we talked about in the Goatees.
Oh, how so?
In the sense that it was supposed to be like the best old game that we discovered in 2017, and I didn't actually mention any of the 2016 games that we covered. I only mentioned the older stuff.
Oh.
So there were some things that we perhaps should have considered a little more deeply. Not many, but there were things. Sorry, yeah, when I was making a joke about having a fake award there. Not really a joke, just a poor thing to do. Yeah, it just reminded me. It's like, oh yeah, I screwed that up. I was meant to mention it at the start of the cast to be like, sorry guys, we should have talked about you. I'm pulling up the list now. Yeah, we should have talked about Alienation, Deadbolt, Enter the Gungeon, importantly, and Hyperlight Drifter. So yeah, sorry those games.
Well, you've given a convenient segue to something that I played.
Right.
Have I now?
Because I played like a couple of runs of Enter the Gungeon because I felt like I needed to play some more of that. And I got a gun which I had, well, A, I hadn't seen it before, and B, I'm pretty sure it had actually been patched in since the last time I played. It was just it got included in one of the patches. It was pretty cool because it was you already had the prototype railgun, now you just have the railgun. So it's like like the prototype railgun, only even more ridiculous. Because you remember the prototype railgun, it's basically like the Spartan laser, I guess you'd say.
Oh, it takes a really long charge up, yeah.
And then fires instantly across the room, and it's a railgun, so it penetrates and all that stuff. And it does a ridiculous amount of damage per shot. But then you have the real railgun, which still has the charge, still has penetration. The shots do less damage per shot, but they ricochet like 15 goddamn times, and each ricochet angles the shot slightly towards enemies.
Wow.
So you just charge up, and then you just fire, and then just this like trail just goes across the room and just murders everything.
That's pretty great.
And obviously it's pretty fucking effective against bosses if you just shoot perpendicular across the room, and it just goes backwards and forwards through them like 10 times. So that was entertaining.
Nice
gun.
A good find.
Yeah. And I also, relatedly to that, watched a video of someone else playing it and saw a gun that I'd forgotten was even in the game, and I was like, oh yeah, that gun was cool. The face melter, which is just a guitar.
Oh, awesome.
And it plays a guitar tune while you're firing, of course. You just hold down the trigger and go...
Nice.
And it's like reload function. You place an amp, and then the amp also fires, and it fires like the guitar and the amp fire in like a cross formation. Just notes come out of them. So you place the amp somewhere else in the room, and then you have like you cover even more of the room with just notes coming out of it.
Nice.
It's a pretty cool gun.
Enter the Gungeon, a game of guns.
Yep,
a lot of good guns.
Sometimes guns. It's a cool gun, but nothing is as cool as the rad gun, of course.
Nice.
It's literally the coolest gun.
It says so in his name.
Yep.
It's totally rad.
And also, you know, there's that if you don't know about Enter the Gungeon, there is actually the secret stat of coolness.
What?
Which is what influences cool guns to drop.
Okay.
One of the things that I know of, because I never actually looked this out, but this was in one of these videos that I watched, was like one of the things that can increase your coolness is smoking cigarettes when it damages your health.
Oh, wow.
So you can sacrifice health to increase your coolness stat. But you wouldn't know it was doing anything unless you knew that the coolness stat existed, because you just lose health and nothing happens.
So it's just hidden, is it?
Yeah.
And then...
It's like, there's a couple of things like that in Isaac, like hidden influences that you don't necessarily know.
But so is when you say cool guns, is that like guns that tend towards just being like this particular sort of attitude sense of cool?
Maybe.
Or is it like, cool in terms of better?
Yeah, maybe. It might just be like whatever they've decided is cool. Maybe you get ice guns if you're cool. That would also make sense in the Enter the Gungeon dumb logic way. Yeah.
In the world of puns.
Yep. You get the what is that gun called that's not the Desert Eagle? There's the Dungeon Eagle, of course.
Sure.
There's another one. Oh, it's the Cold 45, where it was a typo.
Oh man, that game. It's pretty good. Well, it's good that it's getting a shout out here.
Yeah.
We should have talked about it.
Yes, it may have even won that category.
It might have done. I can't even remember what we gave it to.
No. Forget that. We'll talk about other stuff.
Forget that.
Here's another game that I can talk about that, you know, should have been included in Game of the Year, but except not really because it would have probably been irrelevant. I played the whole of SteamWorld Dig 2. Sort of just before the Game of the Year podcast, I guess.
Yeah, you're sort of in process, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Steam set it and then play that. I say I played the whole of it, but I guess I didn't technically play the whole of it because I kind of accidentally did the sequence breaks. Because in SteamWorld Dig 1 also had it, but there's a specific achievement that tells you that there's a sequence break. And I sort of knew where it was in SteamWorld Dig 1, I just couldn't do it because it was much harder. But in SteamWorld Dig 2, I was like, okay, there's a sequence break. And then I found it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's not even that difficult to do. So I did it. For all of the 3 places where you have to do it. Because it's this weird... like, the last upgrade you get is the jetpack. Which I haven't actually seen because I sequence breaked it. So I don't know what the jetpack is actually like.
Never actually used it.
But it's a jetpack that you fly around, and then I think there's an upgrade you can get that lets you basically, smash through walls, so you don't really have to worry about digging so much any longer while you're using the jetpack. Which would make sense because there's one level that I didn't use the jetpack for because I was sequence breaking, where it's just basically an incredibly long corridor where the floor is just lava. So you're having to dig into the little bits of earth that are hanging down from the ceiling, and it's quite difficult. because instead you have the grappling hook, which is where the sequence break comes in. Because the grappling hook, it fires in, like, it's only 4 directional, because obviously this is a grid-based game at some point. So it fires in 4 directions and it just latches you onto the roof or whatever and pulls you up there. But because it's actually momentum-based, if you, like, start grappling onto the roof and then as it starts to wind you in, you release the grapple, you can actually, like, get upwards momentum. So you can, like, sling yourself upwards. And that's where the sequence break is. There's a hole in the ceiling where you're meant to use the jetpack to get up into it. But if you grapple onto the edge of the hole and time the release correctly, you can just sling yourself up there instead, thereby allowing you to not have to actually get the jetpack. So I did that. And I very nearly fucked myself up because I was trying to sequence break too hard. Because once it tells you that there's a sequence break, and then you work out what the sequence break is, and you're like, yeah, okay, that's how that works. But then I was looking too hard for other opportunities to sequence break and very nearly trapped myself. Because there's another room with a hole in the ceiling. But in this room, the roof is, like, ungrappleable. So you're not meant to be able to do the sequence break trick to get up there. But unfortunately, there is actually another way to get up into that hole that you're definitely not meant to do, where if you use the, what is it, like, ability or whatever, if you equip the ability to make it so you don't take damage from your own explosions, you have a grenade launcher, and you can actually grenade jump up into that hole. It's a very precise jump. You have to do it incredibly dodgily, and then you have to, like, really quickly grapple onto the side of the wall, which is still grappleable, which you wouldn't normally be able to reach from below because you can only fire the grapple straight up. But if you do that, you can get into that hole, and I was like, yeah, obviously sequence break. I'll do that. It will take some time because it's quite a precise thing. But then you go in there, and this whole section is designed for the jetpack, which, you know, you're still not thinking that's actually a problem because, you know, the whole point of this sequence break is you're not getting the jetpack, and you've done it all these other places.
There must be a way to get around it, yeah.
But the trouble is that you go into this place, and it's earth that you mine through, but then it respawns after you've gone past, basically. So you're digging through, you dig down this tunnel, and then you go into this thing. And at the bottom, there's a power-up station that's giving you a power-up, but it's a power-up for the jetpack, so it's basically irrelevant. It doesn't do anything. But what it does do is generate a save point at the power-up station.
Right.
So now you've got a save inside this place. And then to get out, you have to go, like, up and around the corner and then back up through the passage that you dug down initially. But the trouble is that you're going up this passage that you went down. So going down, obviously, you're just digging the tiles under your feet and you're dropping down, and that's fine. But going up, you need to fire an explosive at the ceiling. You have these sticky bombs. Fire it at the ceiling so it explodes, knocks out a block, then fire another one so it knocks out the next block up, and then quickly grapple up into that hole before the blocks respawn. So a block spawns underneath you so you can stand on it, and then you can mine upwards.
Whoa, okay.
But in order to do that, you have to have ammo for your sticky launcher, and because you've already had to go round this other bit of level, which you're also having to do this trick for, you don't actually have enough ammo to do this upwards climb, unless there's one singular enemy that spawns in this section that you can kill and will sometimes drop sticky bomb ammo, but only enough sticky bomb ammo if you also have the ability that makes the enemies occasionally drop 3 times the ammo. So I did have that, so I could eventually have got out of there by just basically suiciding until that enemy dropped the power up I needed, which I eventually did, but then I discovered that was pointless anyway, because according to the developer, even though when you suicide and respawn, it spawns you at the power-up station, apparently if you quit the game fully and load back in, it would put you outside the door to that whole section.
Right, so it's not a true save.
Yeah. But yeah, very nearly sequence break myself into a softlock.
Wow.
Which would have been pretty funny.
I guess that is always the risk if the developers are sort of planning ahead and being like, okay, we know that people are going to try and break this, so we'll put it into the game to encourage it in some ways, and we'll think of it. And it's like, oh no, wait, we didn't think of everything.
Yeah, we didn't think hard enough about it. And then, yeah, so I got to the end of the game and it was quite weird, and I feel like I might need to play it again, because it's like because you've sequence breaked past basically this whole section of map, apparently there might be quite a lot of story that happens in that section aside from getting the jetpack.
Right.
So I came to the end and I'm like, this seems kind of abrupt, but yeah, I guess it would be. And then also there's a moment in the end sequence where you mysteriously have the jetpack.
Right.
Because it doesn't account for that.
Because it was scripted, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. And
so what do you figure, breaking it aside, tell us about Stingway 2.
it's just a better version of the first game, I guess.
Okay.
It just plays better.
But you were quite the fan of the first one, right?
Yeah, it's a fine, like... I mean, I don't know. I guess SteamWorld Dig 2 has slightly more emphasis on, like, puzzle rooms, where it's sort of like you go into a door and then here's a set thing that you have to do. Here's a puzzle to solve.
Right.
Be it like a movement challenge or a kill the enemies in a certain way challenge or whatever. It has more emphasis on that, whereas I think if I remember rightly about SteamWorld Dig 1, because it's been a long time, that was just more like, here's the one giant level, just get through it.
Right, I see. So that it feels a bit more architected. Like,
Yeah.
Is it like, well, is any of this like random gen?
No.
Or, like it's all like,
Yeah, it's all pre-made. And even, it's sort of, because of the way this game has the power-up system slightly more prominently, it sort of encourages you to, well, not encourages you, it sort of makes it more Metroidvania in, like, having to go back to places that you've passed before because you didn't have the ability to do the thing.
right, I see.
And then SteamWorld Dig 2 has the upgrade tree where you can toggle on and off special abilities, so you can slightly modify the playstyle to your liking.
Is there like a way of making that like harder for rewards then? Like,
Yeah, it's got like the last tier of things on that list is like the skulls, basically.
No, I see.
Turn up the difficulty options. Except I only ever got like one or two of those, and one of them was just like straight more difficulty, and I don't remember what the other one was. So yeah, there's that.
SteamWorld Dig 2.
Pretty decent game.
Recommend.
It's much larger, I feel like, than the first one, but also I haven't played it for so long, I don't really remember. But yeah, there's a lot of, even though I didn't see some portion of this game, so there's some amount that I don't know, the map was still pretty goddamn big. It's like these 3 vertical columns of digging that you go down, like the plant-based one, and then like the temple, and then the earth in the middle. And also, if you care about SteamWorld, it's it's the continuing story of the SteamWorld universe.
Yeah.
It comes after SteamWorld Dig. It comes before SteamWorld Heist. It actually explains.
Still before Heist. Interesting.
Well, Heist, is in space after the Earth has blown up, and the spoilers, but at the end of this game, the Earth blows up.
Right.
So that pretty much explains how that got to that state.
Which means there's probably not going to be a Dig 3.
No,
they do it on another planet.
presumably.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, a prequel or like some other part of the Earth happening at the same time.
Or they're going to do like a different SteamWorld game or a Heist 2 or something next.
Yeah, maybe. Because they just re-released Heist on the Switch.
They did.
So, that makes sense.
On the Switch. But they'd already put the effort in to make the PC and console versions after because it launched on DS first, right? Yeah.
They clearly had some higher resolution assets in the back to
I guess this
convert upwards instead of downwards.
I assume this had been planned from the outset. Yeah.
So yeah, there was that.
Nice.
I also played quite a large amount of Rise to Ruins. It was a random thing I picked up in the Steam sale.
What is that?
It's a weird, like, combination 2D top-down thing, sort of combines tower defense and like town building and a tiny bit of black and white, or Dwarf Fortress, maybe a bit of that too. That same style of thing. Building a town, you're building towers to defend the town, and the tower defense element is like you basically don't want to have an actually fully enclosed city. You want to have like a zigzaggy passage that encourages all the monsters to walk down it so they can get shot at by your tons of towers.
Sure. So are you influencing nearby places and then throwing them around randomly?
Not quite. The black and white element is that you basically have like some miracle type spells that you can do.
Oh, it better make the noises.
Not quite.
Ah.
But one of the one that reminded me, well, the two that reminded me most of black and white is obviously you have grab, so you can just straight up pick shit up.
Yeah.
You can even like pick up resources and dump them into building sites to help construction along, or you can pick up, people or enemies even.
Just throw them into a turret.
Yeah, exactly. There's a certain structure that sometimes appears naturally on the maps, but you can also build one where you can basically just drop stuff in there to gain mana. So if you want to, if your defenses are starting to get overwhelmed, you can just help out a bit by chucking enemies into the sacrifice pit and get them out of the way. But if you do that too much, it overloads, and then like lightning bolts start hitting everywhere.
Yeah, right.
Does a ton of damage to all your surrounding buildings. So, it's got a trade-off. And then the other spell that sort of reminded me of Black and White was like the growth spell, where you just fire it off and create a like
Trees
area that like plants and trees just grow all over the place, which is actually important, as I learned, to managing the defensive aspect, because obviously at the start of the map you choose where you're going to start building your base, and you look at like where the choke points are, where you can easily defend, where you want to build your little zigzaggy path or whatever. But on like the wider map scale, it can be useful to use the growth spell to like encourage trees to block off other routes. Because like if you can force the trees to grow across a passageway, the monsters won't recognize that as a valid route at all.
They won't pathfind into it.
Yeah, because the trees are just a full obstacle, like rock is essentially.
They can't bust through things like that.
They can, but they only like try to if it's like one tile wide. It's like the pathfinding can see one square ahead, but not like 2 or 3.
Right, I see.
So if you can encourage the trees to grow sufficiently, you can use them as like a natural wall that the monsters won't pass through. So you can actually use that to make your initial early defense much easier. But yeah, it's quite it's a one-man project, so it's quite a small game.
Assume it's early access.
It's
like
still
most
early
things you
access.
play.
But it seems to be getting some fairly regular updates. And yeah, as it is quite small, it's not overly complicated. It's one of those things where it's like you solve the problem once, and then that's just you've solved it.
Right,
you only have to learn how to build the tower defense mechanism one time, and then you're like, that just works.
Yeah,
and also like there's no real. It's like there are different types of enemy and stuff, but it's like basically irrelevant because everything just piles on you at the same time. So all you're really doing is just fit as many turrets into one space as possible.
So it feels like there's probably some work involved to make it a bit more like a proper tower defense game that you have to perhaps adapt as you go.
Maybe, or just like some other kind of like. It does have a couple of other mechanisms that vary up, like what you have to do, except the tower defense still happens. Like, so the monsters attack at night, basically. So you have the day, and then you have the night, and then all the monsters pile in at night. So you have the day to adjust your defenses and repair or whatever. But then you can have special events that happen, like the Blood Moon, where during the night, not only do the regular monsters come in, but just blood slimes appear all over the place. So basically, you can't do any repairs because your villagers are all busy fighting shit all over the goddamn town because blood slimes are just popping up all over the place. So it slightly modifies things, but not really. And all the monsters basically charge in. The only difference is that you have fire elementals that are the range units, except the obvious counter to that is you just build the tall walls that the enemies can't see past, so that they have to come around a corner, and then they're right adjacent to your turret, so the range doesn't matter. That's how you solve that problem. And then there's ghosts that can just pass through your walls, but they're fairly infrequent, and they're they still get shot.
They can pass through walls, but they can't pass through bullets.
No, somehow, for some reason.
Because games.
Yep, basically. And yeah, so it's got the town building aspect is the other thing that you're spending a lot of your time doing, building out. It's really a case of like build order where you're like, because it's difficult right at the start, because even though you have like a grace period of a couple of days before the monsters actually start spawning, it's still quite difficult to actually survive on as low resources as you have at the start. But then once you've solved that problem, it's just like, well, now I can make my town nice, I guess. Rearrange things to make it more efficient, so I don't have to worry so much about how on the edge this is, I suppose. But then eventually you come to the point where it's just like, I built the marketplace and now I can just buy resources, and it's not even that difficult to get enough resources anyway. The only thing, because all the resources, you can just use the growth spell to regrow them, and mana is essentially free, kinda. You harvest the crystals that you turn into mana, and then you use the growth spell on the crystals to grow more crystals. So essentially free.
Right.
So you just use the growth spell on trees and food and crystals. The only thing that isn't renewable is rock, but then that's what the market's for. You just buy the rock. And it's not too expensive. So you can just sell off some portion of food or whatever. So yeah, it's not overly complicated. I did spend quite a long time playing it. Also, I because I wanted to experiment to see how the systems of this game would react, I did go to the trouble of clearing an entire map of monsters, which is like, you're clearly not meant to do this because it's meant to be tower defense.
Right, yeah.
Like, you're
not
always
offense.
meant to have the monsters coming at you, but eventually, because of the way the monsters don't pass through forests or mountains, you can like dig a tunnel into a forest and just stick like a long range arrow turret in the forest where the enemies can't path to it, and then it can just gradually whittle down their spawners, and then you just jump between patches of forest and mountain and keep building more of these arrow turrets. So eventually you can clear the whole map. Didn't do anything though.
Oh.
I was slightly disappointed.
Yeah.
I was like, I should have won. It should have just been the end of that map.
Game over.
But
You
then,
have won.
But then it didn't matter anyway because the game crashed and the save got corrupted. Because it's early access. So there you go.
Well, that is a win condition in some ways.
Yeah, it would have been more funny if it was because of what I did the game crashed.
Yeah. It's like, oh, what do we do now? It's nighttime and there's nothing.
So yeah, there's that. And that's pretty much me, I guess.
How did Black and White gate your spell casting? Like, if I wanted to just create...
I don't remember.
If I just wanted to Norse power my way through everything.
There was some kind of mana, right?
Yeah.
Like prayers, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure you couldn't just keep doing it because you ran out of some kind of, but it wasn't a bar, right, that you could set.
Was it like a building that got tall or something? Or, like, so it was like a bar, but it was like in world.
Oh,
Well,
man, I can't
maybe.
remember.
I mean, the main building that got tall was the creature pen because that showed your alignment.
Yeah. Whether it got spiky as all hell or...
Of course, it was the worst thing was in Black and White one where you had the miracles as bubbles.
Oh yeah,
where you could only cast them that one time if you had the bubble. That was bad, very annoying. But yeah, just cast Norse power on goddamn everything.
Yeah,
all the wood you could ever possibly need, because it was much easier than growing trees. Not so true in Black and White 2. It was actually much easier to grow trees in Black and White 2. Didn't have to worry so much.
Japanese power. Who had the grain power? I'm sure I've asked this every time, but I can't remember because I used to use that most of the time. It's like, oh, I'm running out of food, grain.
Yeah, I don't remember. Is that even a specific one?
So, hold on. Wasn't grain and wood the same power? Wasn't it both?
Oh, well,
Norse
they're both
power?
Norse power.
I think so.
Oh yeah, maybe they were. Yeah, it's why the Norse were well overpowered. It's why that's the thing about Black and White, where you had on some of the levels you'd start with a faction that had like the Japanese, where you just didn't have the right powers. You're like, oh, I can see a Norse town over there. If I can get that quick.
That game, like, that's just
chuck rocks at them for several minutes.
I just got stuck on that one level, right? You get really powerful, but you can't influence the next town over. So you're just like, and you don't have your creature, so you're just stuck,
that was
right?
it was the one where it took away your creature. That was
they just fucked it up.
I think I did eventually get past that level once.
You just throw rocks over the enemy while they're going, well, not enemy, but the unconvinced people. It's just like, I don't know what you were meant to do.
Influence. Yeah.
Do you think it was intentional that level was the one which had the invincible guy in it? So
Probably.
You always had something to throw.
Maybe.
Except the invincible guy still had to travel back to his spawn point after you threw him. So it didn't really work.
No, nothing really worked on that. They really messed that game up. Oh, well.
Still had a memorable song.
It was very memorable in general, like atmosphere, like all the creature stuff. Like it's so much good stuff in there. They just forgot to put the game in there.
Yeah,
really annoying.
I know.
And Black and White 2 had a stopping point for me as well, where like they had a mission where you spawned into like a ruined town, and the enemy were immediately attacking you, and you were meant to use your creature to defend, but of course, if you haven't been training your creature to fight, you're completely fucked, because you didn't know that was going.
Yeah. They didn't quite nail the whole, like, you can play this either way thing. It's like, oh no, we put you in a situation where you need a certain skill set that you probably don't have. I think several games get that wrong, right, when they have, like, skill tree stuff. Like there are some. I'm trying to remember. It's like if you're spec'd in a certain direction, like for stealth or something, and it's like then you get into a bit of forced combat.
Deus
and you're
Ex was the classic example.
Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Human Revolution.
Yeah. Yes.
Whatever the first game's called. That was Human Revolution.
That is Human Revolution. Yeah, Mankind Divided is the second one.
Yes, that was the classic example where, like, here's a forced boss fight. If you've been doing stuff up to this point, fuck you.
Good luck, sir. In fairness, I had that problem sometimes in the first game where I'd get myself into situations that it's like, oh crap! Like I either have to go try and load an old save, which I might not have, and come into this in a different way, or I'm really boned right now. I'm gonna have to go into a situation that I'm just not set up to deal with.
Yeah. There was definitely a couple of the same thing as happened in Human Revolution, where there was a couple of cases where it was just like, maybe this will be the time to use some exploits.
Yeah.
Or not real exploits, but like use the cheapest tactics possible, hide in a vent until no one knows where you are, then shoot them in the knees.
I did that a lot in the first Deus Ex, yeah.
Wait until the music stops.
Yeah.
Because then the enemies have gone back to their patrol routes.
And then in Human Revolution, it was use the homing gun. Just hold down the fire button, point it vaguely at the enemy, and hopefully they'll probably die before you will. Or, of course, the ball bearing explosion. Just unlock the ball bearing explosion, and then that's basically your get out of jail free card for pretty much all the combat.
That did seem like a super weapon. Pew, 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 pew. It'll attack you with tiny balls.
But a lot of them. A lot of tiny balls.
Be a great particle effect if they made that so, like here's
they actually existed rather than just being a thing that happened.
We'll just do some physics on it and make them all go.
That would be pretty cool. It'd be like those weird tech demos that you always get at like E3s when they're showing off 1,000 rubber ducks or whatever.
Yeah.
Or 128 arrows.
Just have a rubber duck.
Rubber duck gun.
Yeah. Any rubber ducks in Gundam?
Not that I know of.
Okay, good answer.
The nearest thing is the fake Nintendo Zapper that fires a duck out of the last shot.
Right. It's pretty close.
Yes.
It's pretty close. Right, I suppose that makes
what have you been playing?
What have you been... Okay,
right.
good.
Sorry.
Okay.
That means hunger's coming.
Yeah.
I played a bit more Flint Hook. Managed to finally get past the second boss. I was like, man, that game's tough. I've sort of gone off. I've come out of it now. So I'm not playing it very often anymore, and which means it's probably going to be even harder to get back
you're
into.
Not going to be able to remember how to play.
I've gotten to the third boss once and was immediately just murderized. Just could not figure out how to avoid anything. It was just like blah blah blah. Oh, I'm dead. But I did figure out like judicious use of the slowdown belt or chrono belt is the way to play that game.
Chrono belt.
Yeah, leather belt. It's definitely the way to play that game well, because you can get yourself out. You can do that thing where I was trying to shoot down, and as I'm like falling to my doom, like have enough time to react and get out of the situation if you needed to shoot down on things. So it is a bit of a curve to try and just force yourself, because you can use it all the time pretty much, but like you do have to like use it a bit, let it recharge, use it a bit, let it recharge, but it's pretty quick bursts. And so I should be using it more often, but I do my initial criticisms were actually like, although the game's getting harder, it's getting harder because it just basically most of the time all it's doing is throwing more world obstacles in. Like there's more spiky balls in this room than there was before,
right.
Or this particular bit of floor is going to turn into spikes when you stand on it. Except I didn't realize that when I first entered the goddamn room. Even though there is a tiny visual cue, but it's like a sliver of white pixel. There's like, oh, there's a plate here where there isn't normally a plate on this particular bit of floor texture, and it's I do wish that game just had slightly more variation in it, like more mix-ups for a roguelike. So yeah, my original problems with it still stand, but I got that little bit better at it. I've been playing. I don't know if we talked. Well, some of this I can't remember if we actually sort of touched upon in Goatees or anything. I feel like I've talked about some of this stuff probably to Zach quite a lot over the weeks out. But I've been playing Hand of Fate 2 because I quite enjoyed that first Hand of Fate game. That was quite cool. It's, you get old school sort of roguelike-y card-based turn, sort of make decisions, things happen, kind of randomness to it. But I think they've dialed back the randomness a little bit, so cards tend to play out in predictable ways, provided you win the gambits. Like, so there's new types of gambits as well. So, right, what the game basically used to do is if you had like a chance situation, what it would normally do is put 4 cards on screen. It would flip them over first to show you what the odds were. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, so there's like 2 success cards and 2 failure cards or something, and then flip them over and then shuffle them, and then you'd pick one, and stuff would happen. And some of the encounters could have levels upon levels of these things, which would lead to, in some cases, wildly different paths and outcomes to those particular encounters. Now, to try and make that a little more interesting, they've introduced more gambit types. So that was what they called I think they call that the chance gambit now. But now you've got dice gambits, so you can like roll, which normally gives you a target score to get, and you roll 3 dice, and then you can re-roll as many of those as you want on the second throw, and then you have to hit that score on the second throw. Right. Which adds a little bit more to it. Like you feel a little bit more involved with those. I think it's like, okay, that I actually have a choice that I might need to influence, and there are ways of manipulating these a little bit. Like some of the powers you can get, like, or blessings can be like, oh, it'll actually highlight one of the bad cards in the chance gambit, or your companion, which is a new thing to this game, your companion character that you've brought along might be able to add a dice to make the target real easy. At the cost of him not being able to fight for a few turns, for a few combat encounters. So they've added stuff to this. Oh, the worst thing they've added, though, is probably the pendulum gambit, which is really, really hard. It's like basically what they've done is they've made it so like this is like a swinging metronome-like thing that's going back and forth, and there's like targets in it that you have to hit. But these targets are often tiny, often moving at a different rate to the pendulum, and often protected by other things that are moving and are quite larger to get in the way. And they're really, really hard. So you're supposed to hit the gold things to get a huge success outcome. You're supposed to hit silver things to get silver to get just a success outcome. But if you miss, then you get a failure. And if you hit the blockers, you get huge failure conditions, which are often really bad. For your progress, and I just find those things really difficult. And the other thing they've added, which is a little more controllable, is the wheel gambit, where it just puts a load of cards on screen that then start spinning, and you have to try and stop them. So the one, Wheel of Fortune style. And you can sort of predict that if you can judge the speed of the wheel, which does change as it turns out. You can't just rely on the same. Like, oh, if I press the button where the card's exactly at the top of the screen, it's going to be the one that comes at the bottom. It's not always true. The speed of the wheel is different for most encounters.
Okay.
It's so you do have to judge it. So they've added all that stuff to make the card game a bit more interesting. But in many ways, I actually think the card game, and this might be a problem with Hand of Fate 2 overall, is that although they've added stuff around the card game, I actually think they've simplified both the card game and the combat in ways that make it a little less interesting to play. I feel like there was more of a random factor in the first game, and that was actually why it was both a bit more exhilarating and a bit more frustrating at the same time. But it also felt like there was a bit more of a game to it.
More
in
to
some
it,
ways. Yeah. But I feel like they while there are more, I think there's more of the sort of what they call challenges, which are like the sort of the courses, the sort of like here's a start, here's a finish point, here's a little bit of story to get through. I feel like they've fleshed those out a bit more, but in the process of doing that, the encounters aren't quite so dynamic. Like you will go through it and it will have this progression. It will have like you go to this first area, something will happen. You go to a second area, something else will happen. It does mean that the way that these play individually can be a little bit different. like, oh, this one's a murder mystery. There's actually a storyline, and you've got to try and figure it out based on logic and stuff like that. But as it turns out, it's always the same on repeated playthrough, so you can just jip it the second time.
Yeah, right, okay.
Although there are bigger goals to get in that thing if you really want to. But there was some of them turn the map into turn the card game into basically a giant map of unknowns, and there's like a path you have to weave your way through it, but you can't really seek to get all of the cards on that particular route, so you can't roguelike it in the like in the way the old game worked, where it's like, oh, you need every card because you need to get all the buffs you want before the end of it. And there might be things on the way that screw you up or put you somewhere else, or certain sub encounters that add cards to the playfield, which are kind of fun.
Oh, okay.
Confuse matters, confuse the map.
So in a kind of surprising way, like in a good way.
Yeah, sometimes there's one sub quest in particular where it basically just spammed the board with desert. So what might have been a clear map suddenly becomes filled with desert cards, and each one of those desert cards, you had to find the one desert card that was the thing you were looking for to move this sub story on. Totally optional, by the way. You don't have to do those things, but there are like these sub stories tied to your companions that can play out in any one of the challenges you want if you choose to bring that encounter with you. But this one was just fascinating because, as I say, it just covers the board in desert, and it's like, well, you can now have to work your way through this if you want to find the other thing, or you can carry on with the challenge at hand and just ignore that stuff. And it's yeah, okay, I see what you did there. You're using your card mechanic to actively improve how this plays in some ways. So there's that. That's the card side. But my biggest problem with Hand of Fate 1 was that the combat felt like a poor man's Batman, and that's still true here. It's not. I wouldn't call it refined. I'd call it different. Like, it still follows that archetype. It's still the press X to attack, press Y to counter, B to do something else, and A to jump about. It's very much following that Batman model. And you build up a combo, which will occasionally give you a special move depending on the weapon you're carrying. And, the slight addition is you can now call in your companion that you have to do an extra attack to help you. And they may distract some of the enemies, which means that thanks to distraction, they can now throw more of them at you, and it's not so much of a burden. But I actually feel like these encounters so far have been less varied, because it feels like there's less enemy types. That may or may not be true, but it feels like there's less. The environments you fight in are less varied, so they become basically just arenas in which to fight. And also there's no ground traps like there was in the first game. You can't just walk over a spike thing and get stabbed, or there's no random arrows flying around that you have to avoid. So even the arenas which in fairness, I kind of didn't like that stuff in Hand of Fate 1.
Yeah, it sounds a bit annoying.
But it's actually taken something away from the combat that I don't feel like anything has come in to replace. Do you know what I mean? It feels like they've taken something out to get rid of a problem,
but didn't think of something else
to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
And so while I don't want to say, I think I feel about this game exactly the same way as I did about the first Hand of Fate, in that I think it's a real solid idea and I love the way they present it. I love the style of the cards. I love the dealer and what he says, and the voice and the tone and everything is really cool. And I'm pretty sure this is all going to be playing into how the first game played out. Like, he's out to get revenge on the player from the first game, basically, which is kind of cool. And I think everything they've changed is as problematic as it is beneficial. So Hand of Fate 2, to me, so far, lands exactly where the first game did in terms of my appreciation of it. I mean, they haven't quite nailed the formula, but stick with it. Stick with it, guys. I think you'll get it. Or someone else, please come along and steal their ideas and try and get it. Because, yeah, I really do think there is something to this. I'm just not sure it's as good as it could be.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I think if you think the sequel, you sort of expect the sequel to be the one where they nail it, right? It's the Mass Effect 2 thing. It's like, okay, you've nailed what you needed to. Yeah, no, I don't think they have, unfortunately. Maybe it'll expand more as I go on. I mean, that's kind of the point in the game. It expands as you go. But yeah, where it sits right now, it's not. Yeah, I've said it already. Moving on. Forza Horizon 3.
Whoa.
That went relatively well priced on the Windows Store on PC over the break. So I picked myself up the PC version of that. Well, I say the PC version, the Play Anywhere version, which when I bought on PC, the Xbox immediately tried to download and said, "You ain't got space, mate."
Naturally.
Nah, mate. No space, mate.
I ain't getting that. Forget it. So that led to my first. Oh boy, yeah, that was the biggest problem I've had with this game was getting it bloody installed off Windows Store. It took like 3 attempts. The first time I downloaded it and then it didn't install. It just gave me a random error code. And it's like I can retry the installation. I don't have to download it again. Just keep trying. And it's like, yeah, all right, I'll do that. Yeah, never installed. Just always deleted it and basically said, no, it's fine. Uninstall. Reinstall. The second download supposedly downloaded way more this time. It's like gigabytes upon gigabytes. Like it said it got up to like 200 gigs worth of download. And then well, that's a hell of a lot higher than what it was before. So while that was running, I started looking up the value of what it was supposed to download, and it's like, yeah, it's about 50 gig. And it's like, so why have I got 193 listed here? What is going on? Apparently that's a bug with Windows Store, where it can just start misreporting what it's doing.
Oh, great. All this drama, if it had been...
before I've even started the bloody go. And I can't remember what I did at that point. I don't know if I restarted it again because it got it wrong, or if I just let it do its thing until it figured it out. I think I restarted it again. So I've probably downloaded 150 gigs worth of stuff at this point to play a 50 gig game that did eventually install itself. Did eventually work. That game is Forza Horizon 2 with a different skin.
Oh, interesting. But quite good looking skin.
Oh, yeah. It's a phenomenally good looking game.
And you played Forza Horizon 2,
I played
right?
2 on the Xbone. So this is which is the only place you could play it. So, I picked up the PC version specifically because I want those extra frames. I want that 60 frames per second at least. And I want that wheel control, which was like one of the major points about this game. It's like, all right, we're actually doing proper wheel support supposedly in this one, and it's like, brilliant. You might have made the game I've always wanted. Yeah, it is fantastic. In terms of its visuals, the driving model is as you would expect. It feels like a Forza game. You can still drive through fields as if every bit of terrain was made of paper, which is fun. Just plow your way through wineries, just
classic
vineyards. Sorry, not wineries. Just taking everything out as you go. Most trees just explode with the touch of your car, but some trees don't. Some trees are just made of granite, and you
the classic.
You just stop. So sometimes you got to use your eyes and pick out that looks like a big tree. That looks like a little tree.
It's like the old Midtown Madness. You can hit as many poles as you want, but as soon as there's a tree, you're screwed, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, no, everything's a tree, really. It's like, right. But which of the trees can I hit and which can't I? Sometimes you have to figure out. I think it's both excellent because Forza Horizon 2 was excellent. Yeah. But it's also, I'm finding myself quite disappointed with it because it is just Forza Horizon 2. Right.
What were you hoping for, do you think?
I don't know, just something a little different. I mean, the presentation is practically identical. The whole style of it is identical. The way people talk to you, like in the annoying voiceover fashion that we don't like, is identical.
Kind of Dirt 2 style.
Yeah. the showcasey stuff is kind of identical. It's like I know perhaps they had a limited amount that they could do, but yeah, in some respects, it's like it's just that everything is the same. Like absolutely everything is the same as the previous game, and like they have added a few things to it. Like let me not be too dismissive of it. Like then there's more championship options. There's more customization options of what events you actually want to do. You don't have to do all the prescribed events. Like you'll discover routes, like courses and tracks, basically through the environment, and you can say, actually, for this particular route, I would rather do it in this type of car. And I'll call it this, and then I'll share that with the community. And so when you go to event locations, you can either play the Horizon Presents version, or if it's working, which I'm not sure it does most of the time, that you'll get a list of other blueprints that other players have made. And it's like, oh, actually, I'd quite like to play that guy's. That sounds fun. I'll play that one. If I've got the car if I've got a car of the various type that race supports. And that can be kind of interesting. There can be ones where you can go back to a route and go, okay, that track was cool, but I'd quite like to play it with this car I had. And it's like, yeah, fine, set that up, go nuts. And that counts as progression. You can do that, and that's fine. The game will just go, yeah, you did that, cool, moving on. Which can be pretty neat. It falls short of what I think that game really should have, which is like just a full-on track generate. The ability to make tracks. I think that was missing in the last game. Like, and it's missing for most of these like open world racing games to some degree. I want to pen out a track either on the roads or for the off-road events. Give me some amount of control of being able to put down like template markers to say here's where it turns if you're doing an off-road event. And like it just feels like this is the step this series needed that wasn't in this one.
Okay.
Why limit me to these tracks when you've got a big open world? Or let me race anywhere.
Yeah, you want to be able to just go from A to B or whatever, and just make it.
I think you can set those up in the online stuff or in the what do you call them? The bucket list challenges. I think you can set up like a point-to-point time trial thing between any two places, I think. But that's which is literally just like drive over this tree field, get through this tree field in 20 seconds or something like that. You can sort of set those up, but I want to set up a track. I want to set up where we drive. Which sort of leads me to my biggest problem with the game, and that which is contrary to most of the reviews and most of the opinions, I don't think Australia is that interesting as the European location in Horizon 2.
Right, yeah.
I think the beach is a nice area. That's a nice different thing they added to it, and obviously they leaned heavily on that in their promotional material. And the jungle is kind of nice, but the city area is kind of dull. Like Surfers Paradise isn't, and it's the only city area on the map that I can see.
Right.
And it's just not that interesting. It's very flat and it's just boring. I don't really know how to describe it. It's just a boring part of the game, and I kind of wanted a bit more street racing. And it's like and this game really seems to be the highlight of this game is the off-road stuff. The off-road stuff's pretty great. The on-road stuff actually feels a little dull compared to what it was.
So do you think it's better than the
I don't
Forza Horizon 2, or
I don't know. I think it I do think it's just on a par, actually. Right. I think it's just because it is so samey. And like Hand of Fate, and like the bits that were good about 2 are slightly less good. Like road racing was 2's highlight for me, and off-road stuff feels way better here than it did before.
Okay.
So it's a bit up and down. Like I've had fun in the rally cars, for instance, and I've had fun in lightweight buggies going across fields and doing random jumps and stuff like that. It's like that those races are fun. But the actual street racing stuff I've done has been tedious. So it's still been good. Tedious is harsh. It's been good, but like in compared to the other stuff that this game has, it's like it feels it doesn't feel as good as a mainline Forza. I think is my problem with that stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because that's kind of what you want, ideally, right? Would be to fuse the mainline Forza stuff with this style of game, right?
And there isn't necessarily a reason why it couldn't be. And it must be using the same driving model, right? And it must be using the same thing. But it's just the environment doesn't lend itself well to that style of racing. Where I think 2 had several cities in its map, or at least 2 biggies. Sort of stylized European towns, whereas an Australian town isn't all that interesting. It's like just generic house. Big skyscraper on occasion. They've obviously focused a lot more on their like natural environment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's quite clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
But maybe they could bring it all together.
Which leads me to so again, in my usual review style, I'm not trying to poo-poo this game. Like, it's difficult to say the good stuff because it's so much like Forza Horizon 2. It's like the good stuff is all there. It's all known. So I guess the new wrinkle for me is let's talk about performance. Performance is great. On my machine, it runs unbelievably well.
Awesome.
Like maxed out at 100 frames ish. I don't quite hit 120, but I'm running above 100. On it, and it's really nice. The game did accidentally boot itself into 4K mode once, and was super sampling, and I was still getting over 60 on it.
Amazing.
On my GTX 1080, just one, not even the new ones, not even the new 1080 cards, but it was handling it, and it took me a little while to notice that's what had happened. I noticed the frame counter in the top was like, this is normally running in the hundreds. Why am I getting 60 something? And it's the internal res is 4K for some reason.
I'm pushing quite a lot more pixels than I thought.
Yeah. So that's really quite impressive. I do think there is a lot of nice. I think that it's hard to notice when you're starting to look really closely at the details, but I think like things like the rain detail has improved, and the way it they do that nice sort of raindrops on the car texture that Forza's had for a while since Forza Horizon 2, I think might have been the first game to do it. But that now animates with rain hitting it, so it's like you can see the spots changing if you really look at it.
Sweet.
Not that you could barely ever see that kind of stuff, but when you do see it, or you do pay attention to it, it's like, oh right, you've actually done that. That's cool. I pointed something out to you, I think, when you saw it, and it's like when there's a camera that looks like it's being shot from a drone, they'll actually put the shadow of the drone that would be taking the pictures into the world, and it's that's a cool little detail. I love that stuff. It's filled with detail like that. Just little things that you just would have thought you didn't need to do that, but you did. Saying that, the quality of the cars isn't always uniformly brilliant. I have come across a couple of vehicles where, normally they model the intricacies of most of the cars. They model the intricacies of the headlamps, so they all reflect nicely inside, and it's all all the little details of the headlamps are there, and that's really great. But I have driven a couple of cars where the headlamps have just been a texture.
Oh no. That's kind of
the absolute opposite of it. It's like going back to play the non-premiere cars of Gran Turismo.
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah,
it really stands out, and it's just like, whoa! Why did you not do that on that car, or why did you not put a shader on it to make it look a little bit refractory, if that's a word? It's just there are when the detail isn't there, it really stands out, which is, again, a testament to how good looking this game is, really, and how well produced it is. That when there is something out of place, it's like, oh,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you can't fake that stuff, right? And it's a lot of work, but I mean, they should just do. I don't know. You might as well not have that car.
Yeah, exactly. There probably would have been cars in other cars in that class that they've modelled better. It's like, how did that make that too final bit? Or maybe, in fairness to it, the game does run on a what it calls a dynamic optimization system, So it's constantly adjusting your graphic settings, in theory, to keep your frame rate up. So a bit of me does wonder, maybe I need to go back and like look at that car in Forza Vista or something and examine it again there. But it was a showcase challenge, and like so it just opened with this car driving right at the camera, and it's like you're just sort of wincing a little bit with it. It's like, oh, that doesn't look right. So one of the game had a little hiccup at some point and like had optimized out the detail to keep the frame rate up. So I'll re-examine that, but it just looked bad at that point, at that moment in time. God, what else is there? There is more stuff to talk about here. Like, let's talk about the wheel support actually, because that's kind of a big deal for me. That was the reason that drew me in, and I'm going to describe it as functional.
Okay.
As in, it works.
Right, but you only have to play Dirt Rally for like 30 seconds to realize how much more they could do. So force feedback support is kind of bad to non-existent. Like, it's there, you can feel the odd rumble, but it's not like you're feeling the tires slip from under you, or you're not feeling the weight of impacts particularly. It's just sort of there. You got your like wheel return to center spring, which is I guess the most important thing. But yeah, I'm not really feeling the loss of grip. I'm not really like, so that's a little disappointing. And secondly, I think the amount of configuration you can do on the wheel settings just feels there. It doesn't feel right. And like so. I've had to turn the sensitivity option in that game right down to 0 to get it to feel like remotely controllable, because you saw it when I first fired it up pretty much, and it's just like, whoa, this is all over the place on its default setting on my wheel, and it's just like and having pulled up it does that thing in Forza where you can pull up like the schematics or telematics, what do they call it when you're like Telemetry, that's the word. Oh, right, yeah, okay.
So you can pull that up and have that on screen instead of your normal HUD, and there it will show you like how much you're steering, like because it has like a little steering indicator on screen, which is kind of nice because that's how we gauge the thing. And on 0, it seems to get on 0 sensitivity, it seems to give you the full range, whereas anything above that, it's like locking out at max before you reach the end of the wheel's throw. Which I guess might make sense on wheels that have like those 900-degree wheels or something, maybe, if that's how you want to play it. But on my wheel, with only like a classic just over 180-degree throw or whatever it is, it's not. It's just really not. It's way too sensitive. So I have to toy with that, and then I had to toy with the linearity to make it so it was more sensitive around the middle of the wheel. And then none of the changes you then make are reflected in the animation of your hands on the wheel inside the car. So he's turning his hands on the wheel way more than you are.
Okay.
Which is kind of off-putting.
Yeah, that's kind of weird looking.
Yeah. And that's I like to play in that in car cam, even if it is somewhat restricting, like in terms of what you can see sometimes, because the car canopy covers most of your view, depending on what you're driving. I think I would have preferred them to have shipped the game with like the classic, the option that's now becoming popular in a lot of these wheel games, where you can just turn the wheel off, or just get your animation right, fools.
Just turn the animation of it off.
Yeah, just turn the whole wheel off, right. So you can't see it. And I can see the dash behind it, and so my wheel becomes the wheel. Yeah,
that's better. Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's in Dirt Rally and Dirt 4 and games that know what they're doing. I'm willing to give it a sort of pass because, they supported quite a lot of wheels. You can go through the control presets and it's like, okay, there's actually quite a lot of wheels in this list. And they've set up the controls so they map somewhat ideally to the wheel.
Does it support Microsoft Side?
Good question.
Because it's a Microsoft game. They have that one locked down. I mean, it's ancient.
I doubt it, because those drivers don't work properly on Windows 10 in my experience.
Well, no.
So that ancient-ass wheel is now actually kind of redundant. But
Windows
finally
will still work it out if you plug it in, because it's just USB.
But I had, there was some sort of... The only reason I'm not using the Sidewinder still is because it in Dirt in particular, something about its drivers, even when the wheel was plugged in and not being used, something about its drivers caused Dirt's frame rate to just plummet. Like it would go down to like 20, 30 frames on my machine when it should be running at a full 120. Yeah, it was just that wheel made Dirt unplayable, which made me think, okay, maybe the Windows 10 drivers are finally screwed, or those old drivers are finally screwed in Windows 10, something like that. Because you could unplug the USB immediately, and then the game would go back to running to full speed. And it's like, okay, the wheel is definitely causing a problem here. Whether that's Codemaster's fault or not, I don't really know. Maybe I'm assuming it's a driver issue, admittedly. But it would not surprise me, given that thing hasn't been supported for friggin' ages and just still happens to work.
You ever tried running that wheel and that game in your Windows 7?
Yeah, so I had played Dirt Rally with the Sidewinder before the Windows 10 upgrade had come out. So I'd played it on ice, like my last PC.
Yeah, but I meant with your dual boot. Have you tried it on this PC under Windows 7?
Interesting. No, I haven't got a Windows 7 install. I would have to sort that. I'd have to get a new drive and sort that out. It sounds like way too much faff.
Well, yes, but just that test.
But you're right. That would be a viable test. Yeah.
Because your old PC had USB problems of some kind.
Yeah, ice was a bit problematic with USB in general, but yeah, no, I have that problem now on Fire. So that was what led me to conveniently permanently borrow this Thrustmaster. Yeah. So I maybe they got it a bit better in Forza Horizon 7. Maybe they put a bit more work into it. This was their first real stab at it, in fairness. And it's okay. They do have a problem with the I tried to create a custom control layout to reassign some buttons, and they do have the problem that the preset they've built for the wheel themselves has multiple controls assigned to the same button, which is fine because they're non-overlapping because they work in different contexts. But if you try and set that up yourself in the custom preset, it doesn't let you because it goes, this control is already bound to something else.
Right. Despite
the fact those contexts will never cross paths. And it's like, oh, so I can't actually set it up in the same way you've set it up, but just make one little change. Doesn't let you do that. So, a little bit of work needed on their wheel side.
Well, that's
and also don't advertise to me constantly. There have been 3 separate occasions where the game has just stopped at the end of a bit of progression to show me a video of either the DLC portions of the game, or at worst, it showed me a video for Forza 7. Saying, please buy Forza 7, and then prompted you with an on-screen menu saying, hey, do you want to buy Forza 7? Or, hey, do you want to buy the DLC? And it's like, please don't do that. Don't take me out of the game to show me a video
of something I could buy, yeah.
Yeah, when, in fact, one of the videos it showed me was for the Hot Wheels DLC, which I haven't played yet, but I own. Don't do that!
Annoying.
And it was already installed, right?
It was already installed.
So it did already know that you owned it.
Yeah, installed automatically because I got it as the Horizon 3 and Hot Wheels bundle, and it just sort of that they download as one, as I think most Xbox stuff does. If you buy DLC, it just grabs the whole lot because it knows. Yeah, don't do that. That's quite frustrating. Although I haven't seen a trace of microtransaction, interestingly. Even though there's tokens, which I think are its currency. I don't know where you'd buy them from. I haven't ever seen the prompt that says, do you want to buy some tokens? So that's a plus. And I haven't felt like there was any need to ever buy anything, in fairness, other than the DLC stuff for Hot Wheels, which seems like the most fun ever. But we'll get to that. I'll get to that. So yeah. It is good. Trust me. But I'm just, you know what I'm like. It's easy to rip games apart.
Amen to that. Cool. Well, if you haven't played Forza Horizon 2, then Forza Horizon 3 definitely recommended.
Well worth a play. Yeah. Definitely less essential if you've played 2.
If you've already played it, then save again.
Unless you're really hankering for a slightly different place to drive things. Slightly.
Cool.
Oh, they really need a skip button on their little cutscenes as well. No, I'm done.
Especially the ones that are advertising to you.
Yep.
Right, I think we've come to the end of this. We've run slightly long.
Yep, sorry, my bad. There was a lot to say about
But that's all good. We'll be back in a couple of weeks for... I don't know if there's any videos coming out, is there, guys?
So we've recorded a couple. I haven't had any time to work on them for a while.
Well, when Rob gets a chance.
Yeah.
There'll be some stuff up on the Happy Salad YouTube channel.
So what's next?
And I've still got one more Opus Magnum to upload.
Yeah, which
okay.
From your quite popular series.
Has turned out to be the most popular video we've ever done as the first part of Opus Magnum.
Yeah. And so watch out for that if you want to see some puzzling. Real-time puzzling. If you could try and work out how Zach's brain works in a reverse engineer kind of way.
Yeah.
Enjoy that. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks for another Saladcast. Probably more Mass Effect.
Probably more Mass Effect.
Catch you then.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh, I need to actually get... Oh no, I've got caught.
Rob's tangled up in his head, mate.
I'm stuck. I'm through.
He's broken through the wall into Mexico.
Hello now. Goodbye.
Bye.